Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Virtual Grip Network and Coast2Coast Racing Network welcomes you to the Coolray Knoxville Nationals Charity Race for Disabled Veterans. I'm Austin Belke. Alongside me in the booth are J.R. Shepard, Kenny Kibbe, and Marty Zakala. And joining us in the directing studio is our director, Mike Yao. Disabled veterans consist of disabled veterans who volunteer their time and skills to help other veterans and their families. Whether they're dealing with physical injuries or invisible wounds, they provide claims assistance and a friendly ear and resources they may need. These patriots deserve the benefits they have earned serving our country. By donating to DAV, you are empowering veterans to lead productive lives with respect and dignity. The second charity up tonight is Honor House. Honor House is a refugee or a home away from home for members of our Canadian Armed Forces, veterans, emergency services personnel, and their families to stay completely free of charge while they are receiving medical care and treatment. These brave individuals, along with their families, sacrifice so much on a daily basis to protect our freedoms and our everyday way of life. Honor House allows us the opportunity to show them that we care and how much we appreciate all they do for us. As we get ready to go into our race tonight, JR, Kenny, Marty, pass it off to you first. Kenny, what can we expect from tonight's races?
Yeah, so, we're going to have a bunch of alphabet soup tonight. These guys have run through some qualifiers in these sprint cars here at Knoxville Speedway, kind of a Knoxville Nationals sort of feel, but for a charity event. We're going to have a bunch of mains. You got E main all the way up to the A main at the end of the night, so we should see some guys fighting for spots, getting through each main up to the next, and then the big show later on tonight. JR, talk about it from a driver's perspective. What do you think it's going to be like for some of these guys who technically you could run, 4 or 5 races tonight?
It's going to be tough, for sure. So you're going to have to keep a level head on your shoulders, pay attention to what the track's doing. These are the 360 sprints. They've got over 700 horsepower, so you've got a lot of throttle control that you're going to have to work with tonight. You're going to have to look for the grip in the track. It's going to move around. It may start at the bottom, may move all the way up to the top. Maybe the reverse from that. We just don't know what the track conditions are going to be starting out. So these guys are going to have to pay attention to what's going on, work the track, and just stay on top of it, man. It's going to be tough. These cars are a handful.
And Marty, you've been following these guys and following them throughout, all the races leading up to this. Who's your favorite in this first heat race?
Well, there's a lot of drivers to watch out for throughout the entire heat as we go actually through the entire night specifically. But as we look through this heat specifically, there's a lot of good names out there. I'd probably keep my eye on a lot here first for our E-main tonight, that being Terry Landis. He's had a fast car throughout the past 3 nights we've had of qualifying for the Knoxville Nationals final. Right now, second fastest in warm-ups at the moment. That end in just about 5 minutes from now. He should be a key favorite to watch out for tonight.
Thank you there for your insight. Kenny, we look at here, the track state and stuff like that. JR, I know you mentioned that we don't know what the track's going to do tonight. As the track slicks off, how do these drivers look for where the track is gripping up or maybe slicking off in certain areas? What do you look for as a driver?
You got to pay attention to that coloration in the racetrack. So the darker place, the darker colored dirt is where you're going to want to place your car. That's where a lot of the moisture, a lot of the grip is. That's where you're going to get the most speed out of the car and be able to drive the car as straight as possible. Obviously, we're on dirt, you're going to go sideways, but the straighter you can keep that car and the more throttle you can keep down, the faster you're going to go.
For sure. Thank you for that insight, JR. Right now, it looks like that line is in the middle of the track. Marty, you've kind of looked at, the qualifying races the last 3 days. What's the track been doing usually these races progress?
Well, as the track, as usual in dirt racing, the longer drivers race is when the track gets really slick. We've seen that classic Knoxville low groove start to slick up where drivers go on the high side, but at the same time you have to be very careful taking the pedal to the metal on the outside, because last night during Hard Knocks we saw a couple of drivers bicycling throughout the corners. We'll have to see what happens, but the low groove as well has worked for a couple of drivers, specifically later on tonight. Steven Goldner was one that's been using that low groove, and you should watch out for him to be a key threat tonight. But a lot of grooves around Knoxville, a lot of drivers that can be threats throughout the night.
For sure. JR, we've come here in our own competitions a couple times, and you look to the inside of the track, there's almost that berm on the inside where you can kind of go up on there and put a wheel up over it. What's that going to do to the car if you end up hitting that?
It's very tricky. So the guys that run the bottom, that run it really well, they know how to get the correct angle going into the corner and get as close as they can with that left front tire right up on that berm. You can even just, raise that left front up just a little bit to kind of almost de-wedge the car, get more grip to the rear end. But if you go over that, these cars are wild. They're a little bit unpredictable. They could bounce up into the groove, could bounce into other vehicles. You could see some big wrecks if somebody misses that bottom.
Kenny, from another driver's perspective, what do you do at the beginning of this race if you're maybe starting in the back? Of course, if it's hard to pass here, do you kind of just go where the other cars aren't?
Well, the thing is, this is only a 10-lap race, this E-Main, so the aggression level, I think, is going to be pretty high for this first E-Main here. But you only need to make the top 4 to advance at least, so, you really only need to make it to about mid-pack, at least according to the amount of drivers who are in this warm-up session. But I think you're going to see high aggression right away, and like what you said, guys driving and where other people are not. I think you're going to see guys fan out, try to be creative. You might see a few kind of slider lines, guys going from the bottom to the top and vice versa. You're going to see guys get creative here, I think, right from the get-go in this E-Main, because they got to go. And not only do they want to advance to the next main, but they want to try to improve their starting spot as much as they can for the D-Main. Marty, these guys, they're kind of in an uphill battle starting in this E-Main. Do you see these guys, advancing and just keep on going on up through the alphabet soup?
Well, for the drivers that are in the E-Main, for them, it's like climbing up Mount Everest. They've got a tough road to make their way up from the E to the A. It's going to be very tough to see some drivers make their ways up. A lot of the drivers that are in this E-Main are some of the drivers that compete out of the C division for the Coast2Coast Racing League on Monday Night Madness, which are the Raiders. So they can sometimes have a tough time racing. It's going to be tight, but when they make their way to the D-Main, I tell you, there are some good names you have to keep your eyes out for closely.
Marty, you kind of just explained it a little bit, being in the C level. Talk us about what the Coast2Coast Racing League does in terms of progression and drivers, getting faster and faster as they go up through the ranks.
Yeah, so specifically for Monday Night Madness, our 360 Sprint Car League, you have to be under a certain incident level. So at the end of the season, as long as your IL is under a can't really remember it specifically when it says it's not Monday night, actually under a 500 level specifically, or excuse me, under a 250 level is what you want to make your way up into our B division, which are the Rebels. In order to race in the Rebels, your IL has to be under 225. And then when we have the Renegades out top of the level, have to be under 200 in order to race with the best of the best.
Interesting to see there that there is kind of a progression in terms of promoting that clean driving to make sure that the drivers reduce their incident count. As right now the time is winding down. Kenny, these guys are trying to put their final laps of practice in here before we go racing.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of these guys have put in their fastest lap times early on in this practice session, so times are going to slow down, and the track state started at 15%. That's what it's going to be at for the race. It actually started 0 for the practice, but 15% for the race. So it's going to be fresh, and it's not going to wear very much through this E-Main. But as we go through the night, we're going to have more racing. We're going to have, the track's going to wear out more. JR, talk about that with, the race is getting longer throughout the night and having more cars out there. The track state's going to be quite different through every one of these every one of these mains, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. The track's going to change continuously, and with the more and more cars out there, the more and more strategy is going to come into play. So it's not going to be just as easy as, hey, I'm going to run the bottom or I'm going to run the top. You're going to have to find that fastest line on the track. Say it's at the top, and when you catch somebody, you're going to have to be able to pull a slider, try to run the bottom, going in, slide up in front of the guy and grab that position. And there's strategy in that, because if everybody's running nose to tail, you got to make sure you got a gap to get into.
For sure, trying to make sure you're not just freight lined. Very interesting though, Kenny, that you say you don't need to be necessarily the fastest. You just need to make sure you're not one of the 3 slowest drivers. Sort of the old verbiage of when you're being chased by a bear is, I don't need to be fast. I just need to be faster than whoever is running next to me to make sure I'm not caught by that bear. In this case, though, the bear being the elimination from the charity race here tonight, and being the drivers that are sent home earlier than the rest.
Yeah, I mean, the key thing right now for these guys, just get into that top 4 and move on. But you know that these guys are still going to go for the win, like I said earlier, to try to improve their starting position to in the D main if possible. But like Marty was saying earlier, it's definitely going to be an uphill battle for them. But that's the beauty about this dirt racing, is you don't necessarily have to qualify on the first chance. You got multiple chances to get in. If you can prove your worth in these short races, get up to the front and stay up in the front. But eat success over and over again if they're going to have to get to the A main.
Yeah, it's a tough order for sure. So, there's a lot of luck that goes into racing. You can be the fastest guy out there, but if you don't have some luck on your side, you're not going to do well that night. So these guys are going to have to stay on top of who they're racing and the type of racing that's going on around them. And for sure, they're going to have to control those nerves, because they may know that they have the speed, but that doesn't mean they're going to be able to get the track position and get ahead of the guys that are leading the pack in a particular race. So, yeah, there's a lot of nerves in it. They're going to have to keep control of that and just do what they know how to do and drive these race cars.
Fantastic insight there, JR. Very interesting to see, kind of what you have to do, like you said, Kenny. Climb up that Mount Everest and go through the alphabet soup, as it looks like these guys are running into their last couple seconds of practice time here. Well, then we'll get you the lineup and go racing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this first, this E main here. This might set the tone for what we're about to see for the rest of the night.
So right now we see our lineup order for the E main. Terry Landis starts first, followed by Jeff Barker in second. Stephen Bixer lines up third with Gary Taylor in fourth. Kenny?
John Rayner will be in 5th place. Jeff Barker actually appearing to be in 6th place on my screen anyway. His 7th place is Stephen Bixler will round out the field in our first E main. Steve Maurer was up in 2nd place.
Oh yeah, a bit of a timing and scoring error right there on our lineup, but yep, as they have gridded up Steve Marr, like you said, in 2nd place and Jeff Barker in 6th, as these guys get ready to roll off pit road following that iRacing pace truck. JR, what have you seen the track doing so far in practice? Obviously, we've seen the line get a little bit higher. Do you think these guys are going to try to cut it all the way down to the inside, or do you just think they're going to go as close to the wall as the grip is going to let them?
Honestly, I think they're going to move up pretty quick here. The track looks like it's spread out. That cushion's starting to move up, and that grip is right toward the top line, about a lane off the top. So I think that's where they're going to predominantly go in this 10-lap race.
For sure. Thank you very much for your insight there, JR. Marty, I know you said you had your eye on, I believe it was Jeff Barker. Is there anyone you think is going to be a sleeper pick today for this E-main?
I was actually watching out for Terry Landis. My sleeper, though, tonight, I would say either John Rayner or maybe even Steve Bixler. Steven's got the toughest road to climb, even though he was near the front during Hard Knocks last night, so we'll have to see what happens.
Thank you very much for that sleeper pick as the iRacing pace truck comes down pit road. Terry Landis right now bringing the field down to the starting stripe. Green flag comes out. He puts his foot on the loud pedal. They rocket down the front stretch into turn 1, 2 wide. Noah's Ark style. We already have a collision in the back, though. Caution's going to come out. Caution laps do not count, though. That
was Gary Taylor, by the way, in the number 34. as we did not complete lap 1. The caution laps will count here, as we did not complete the first lap. We'll do a complete restart from the drivers that were not in the crash.
Yeah, as you can see, those two look like a bit of just a misjudgment between the two cars there, JR. Usually, you know, for us guys that usually race with fenders on our cars, how difficult is it to make sure that you don't touch wheels with anyone else? And like we saw there, kind of fling your car up into the air.
It's difficult if you're not used to it, for sure. So when you got fenders, you can rub that guy a little bit. In these cars, there's no margin for error. If your tires touch each other, at least one of you is going to go airborne, if not both of you, like we just saw here.
Yeah, very unfortunate for those two drivers. It looks like their night is done. I believe they both had too much damage to carry on, and I think they might have towed down pit road. The lights, of course, are still on the iRacing pace truck, so we'll have about another lap or two here before we go back green. As we see, we're just catching up on our replay here, the two drivers that were involved in that wreck. It looks like they're both still out on track, though, fortunately enough for them, so they're not night over just yet. They're going to get the one to go this time by, though.
So I believe lap 1 will be the only lap that is counting here. As per iRacing, we still have lap number 1 on our screen.
Green flag comes out. Terry Landis is going to lead them all down into turn 1. This time, though, a single file order, so the cars are a bit more spread out, less likely to cause a caution. Still getting plenty of passing, though. It looks like Jeff Kemper currently trying to fight for second spot.
Yeah, we got quite the battle going on. Oh, a little contact out of turn 4, and those drivers are going to wreck. Because we'll see if this brings out a caution. One driver
no yellow
on the side.
Yeah, no yellow just yet. Yeah, he's going to tow down pit road there, so we're going to go back up through the order here. Looks like John Rayner Jr. now going to rocket up into second position, as those two cars definitely getting tangled, though. Thankfully, only one of them going to be getting the tow there. I believe that was going to be the car of Kemper, so both he and Taylor are currently one lap down. But still, Terry Landis up front by a pretty large margin, about 1.5 seconds currently to second place. John Rayner, followed by Steven Bixler. Jeff Barker is going to be the last car to advance if they stay right in this order for the next couple laps. JR?
Yeah, and running a great line out front right now. We're watching Bixler here. He's also running a very similar line, kind of going in a little bit shallower than I expected, but immediately moving up to the tie line here, trying to search for that grip. And looks like Barker's hunting. He's trying to make a move here.
JR, you said he was entering a bit shallow. Is that kind of like a slider line where you go in a bit straight, then get the car to rotate and go up high in the second half of the corner?
Yeah, it is, and you know, it's a tool that these dirt guys use, so you don't have to go in right where the groove is or right where the grip is. You can go in a little bit shallower, gain some speed on entry, and then slide up to where your rear tire is going to get traction off the corner.
Is that potentially something a driver might do in defense to make sure that no one can get to his inside?
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. It's something that you're going to see a lot of, especially when a guy starts really working you over from behind. You're going to want to protect that inside lane to make sure he doesn't do a slide job on you.
For sure. Right now we see this 3-car battle for third position. These are all the rest of the guys on the lead lap. So far, the only person on the lead lap in this pack right now is going to be Steve Moore, currently in 5th position. Unfortunately for him, like I said, he would be the last person to go home. White flag comes out, though. 1 lap to go. It doesn't look like we'll have any position changes unless someone wants to make a move. Of course, Steve only 0.3 seconds behind Jeff right now for that final transfer position. But right now, Terry Landis is going to come out of turn 4 and bring home the checkered flag for the E-main here, followed by John Rayner, Steven Bixler, and Jeff Barker is going to round out all the guys who advance.
Yep, guys that will be going home, or at least out of this E-main, there'll be Steve Marr, Gary Taylor, and Jeff Kemper, who was involved in the early accident.
I'll add something here, too. Maurer came close. He was closing in on Jeff Barker those last few laps at the checkered flag. Maurer was running a 16:24. Jeff Barker is 16:32. The gap at the start-finish line per our live timing, just a quarter of a second.
Yeah, definitely putting it all on the line and make sure he could advance, though unfortunately his night is going to end a bit earlier than he would have hoped. We'll try to get you the top 4 drivers that are going to advance here for interviews in a couple of seconds.
Fun fact as well, add here from one of our statisticians, that 3 out of 4 transfers were from the Can-Am racing team that are going to take part in the D-Main in just a few moments.
I believe we do have the winner of that E-Main, Terry Landis, currently in the booth. Terry, man, fantastic job out there. First off, I mean, just tell us about that race, man.
Oh, man, I'll tell you what, I figured out how to snooker him on the start, and it worked out.
Yeah, definitely. We saw you just putting in the lap times you had to out there at the front. What does it mean to have that clean air, being the leader, and not have to worry about any of the drivers ahead of you?
Well, you can keep your steady line if you want to, and then as the track's changing, you can just move around a little bit and try and find a faster time.
For sure. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight in the E-Main?
Sure, it'd be Dan's homegrown popcorn. They make all sorts of flavors, and they're really, really good. Kreitzel track parts. Let's see, my wife, of course, for letting me do this stuff. And KSR and you guys and Cart for putting this stuff on.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Once again, congratulations on that run in the E-Main, Terry. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you, sir.
Kenny, I believe you've caught up with our second place finisher.
Well, I think we are going to actually throw it to break real quick, and we'll come back and get ready for the next heat, or the next main, but also interview the rest of the 4 guys who advanced through the E-Main. So we'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back live just after the E-Main heat race. I believe Kenny Kibbe has caught up with our second place finisher. Kenny?
Yeah, John Rayner, it's Kenny Kibbe in the booth. You advanced through the E-Main. How do you feel going into the next main race later on?
Pretty nervous, but hoping I can make some headway up there as well. Yeah, I was happy to get this race over with, but I know there was a couple of people in front of me when we started that unfortunately got into an incident which helped me move up into second place, but I was happy to get this through.
Yeah, and talk about the start of this race. It was a little bit of chaos there with the early caution. Did that mess with your rhythm or maybe scare you a little bit, having to deal with that right at the beginning?
I wasn't expecting it to happen quite as fast as it did, unfortunately, but with Terry ahead of me, I know Terry's a great driver, and he gave me some lessons, not today, but other days there. I kind of tried to follow him as good as I could because I know he's a great driver, and he's helped me in the past a lot, so that was very good.
Got anybody to thank that's riding on board your race car tonight?
Well, certainly I'd like to thank my wife for allowing me the time and that to do this. And I know Roger Craig has put a lot of time and effort into setting all this up. So certainly want to thank Roger Craig for it. And Malcolm Mills Mechanical, Galen Gourmet, and Epsilon Wraps, which are some of our sponsors in our racing league.
Well, good luck the rest of the way, John. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
That was John Rayner, and Marty has caught up with another one of our top 4 drivers.
Absolutely. Let's bring in our third place finisher. That third place finisher is Steven Bixler. Hey, Steve, Marty here once again. Let's just walk us through your race there. Made your way up from the rear to finish in P3.
I don't know. I wasn't very fast. I didn't feel I had that much speed, but a couple of them guys got caught up in some wrecks, and so I just fortunate to be where I was and didn't get caught up in them. So just happy to survive and advance, you know.
Yeah, it definitely helped you out there dodging those bullets and making your way up to third position. Your expectations for the D main, what's your plans? Once again, you got to start from the rear, getting those top 4 transfer spots.
Well, I got to find some more speed someplace. I've been messing with the gear and the wing, and so now I got to look around and find someplace to find some more speed. Maybe it's just the driver. I don't know, but we'll just see what we can do in the D main, and you never know what'll happen.
Understandable. Who do you want to give shout-outs to on your run?
Well, first of all, you got to give it to the disabled American veterans and Honor House. We're raising money for them this weekend, and that's what it's all about, really. So shout out to all the veterans out there and what they do. And I also got a shout out to Flatline Racing Bodies and Mauer Farm Management.
All right, we'll let you go, man. Nice run, and good luck to you in the D main.
All right, thanks, Marty.
And I think I'll bring in as well our 4th place finisher. That 4th place finisher, by the way, as we pull him on in here, was Jeff Barker. And yep, there he is. Jeff, you almost lost out on 4th position, but nice run for you. Just walk us through it.
Well, I was a little bit out of my comfort zone. I kind of like to stay back and not dive into the holes, but there was a hole formed on first lap, and I dove in it, and it was gone, and did some flips, and finished out the race with the steering over about 3 o'clock, but I guess it was enough to get by.
Want to ask you as well, did you notice that Mauer was closing in on you inch by inch? Because the last lap, he was like about a 10th faster than you, I think.
No, my steering was so messed up. I was just white knuckling it. I couldn't really see too much except for where I was going.
Your expectations for the D main, what do you got?
I'd like to hit less.
Definitely. Who do you want to give shout-outs to on your E-main run?
Shout out to Malcolm Mills, Millwright, Can-Am Racing Team, Galen's Gourmet Popcorn, excuse me, that just rolls off my tongue sometimes, and Epsilon Sprint Wraps.
Yeah, it definitely does. I got to try some of that popcorn sometime,
yeah,
man.
It's good stuff.
All right. Yeah, definitely. All right, we'll let you go. Good luck to you in the Steam main.
All right, thanks, Marty.
Well, some of the drivers that Marty alluded to right there, obviously, like Kenny said, going up to the D-main. Kenny, as these guys get ready for the D-main, can you walk us through some of our race details?
Yeah, so this is going to be a 12-lap event here for the D-main. Again, the top 4 will advance up to the C-main. So, it's going to be a pretty similar vibe to what the first race was. It's going to be a sprint. You're going to start at 15% track conditions, or as far as track state, so that's going to be identical to earlier. It's an 80-degree track temp right now, about similar time of day. So I think, racing-wise, it's going to be pretty similar to the first. We'll see if we get that early caution like we did in the first heat, or the first main, I should say, or if we run clean to the finish. But again, it's a decent-sized field, and these guys are going to go all out. And I think, Marty, as you alluded to earlier, the names are only going to get bigger from here.
Absolutely. One of those names includes Barry Goldner in the number 36, currently second quickest in hot laps right now. Barry Goldner, last night during the Hard Knocks feature, was in a position to be in the top 4. He had a great run going on. And then off of turn number 2, there was some contact that turned him around into the infield. No yellow flew because it was right next to the inside wall, took him out of a chance to start in the final 4 spots of the finals tonight. Now he's trying to make his way up from the D main. Was in a good spot to near the top of the mountain, but now he is all the way down at the bottom.
Yeah, great point there, Marty. As we go through this race, you said, the drivers are only going to get faster and faster. We see more drivers in this heat than the previous one. JR, what do you do when the competition is only getting tougher and tougher?
You're going to have to find some speed somewhere. So that's where we talked about earlier, knowing this track, knowing where the groove is going. You're going to have to find something that everybody else isn't doing. I've said it on previous broadcasts. If you follow the guy in front of you, that's probably all you're going to continue to do is follow him. So you got to find something that they're not doing.
Yeah, for sure. JR, do you also think some of the guys who were in that last heat race, they kind of know what the track's going to do more so than some of the guys that, this is maybe their first race of the night? Do you think that gives them, a large advantage?
I don't know if it gives them a large one, but it definitely gives them an advantage, especially those first couple of laps. So a lot of these guys that weren't in the last race, they're going to be searching around, I think, a little bit, trying to watch their mirror, see what everybody's doing. The guys that were in that last race, they know immediately where to go, and they're going to be digging hard. At least that's what they need to do to try to advance.
Marty, I asked you in the last main race, who do you think, who's your favorite for this race, and give me one sleeper pick?
I gotta tell you, I can't go off of Barry Goldner, man. This guy is very good in driving these 360 sprint cars. Driver also as well, Stephen Goldner Racing, who is going to be a key contender for the finals tonight. But maybe a potential sleeper, I'm going to go with 2 outside of Terry Landis because we already mentioned him. My number 1 sleeper pick is going to be Andy Piercefield in that number 175, and it's also because he's our title sponsor, Cool Ray, and Cool Ray, speaking of that, is also an official sponsor of the World Series champions, the Atlanta Braves. So makes me happy to say he's a part of that this season. I'd watch out for him. Outside of the sprint racing, he's mainly a modified guy. But I tell you what, Roger Craig, the Bass Man, our main guy from the Coast2Coast Racing League, he is a hungry driver after what happened last night in our B main to try and make it into the Hard Knocks feature. Lost out by 13 1/1000ths of a second to Dean Reynolds, and it was a crazy photo finish.
For sure. Obviously, that definitely motivates drivers to want to fight even harder and harder as we go through some of these events here. Right now, though, no drivers are going to be out on track as they're all kind of taking a little bit of a moment here to, maybe get the gloves on, take a little bit of a bathroom break before we get going again here. Kenny, as we go through some of these races, what is something you do, if you're the 4 drivers that advanced in the last one, you obviously start this race in the back. Do you kind of go easier for the first couple laps? Obviously, we have 2 more in this main race than we did in the last one.
I mean, I think you got to pounce. I really think you don't have time to wait around. I think you need to take advantage of the fact that you've been able to have a few laps out on track in a racing condition. And you need to pressure those guys, because obviously there's going to be some anxiety around that 3rd, 4th place where those guys are not going to feel safe. I think you need to use that to your advantage. I think you need to play on offense. And you need to just go after it. So if it were me, I think you need to settle in and not do anything dumb and wreck your chances at the beginning or anything. But I think the aggression level is going to be high.
For sure. You talk about pouncing. What are some of the things that these drivers can do to sort of limit that aggression? Do you just go as hard as you can the whole time, or are you taking maybe some calculated risks?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to do some risks, but again, you got to avoid contact, obviously.
One of the things I want to touch on, too, is these guys are all running open setups, and I forget who mentioned it. It might have been, I think, Jeff in his interview. He talked about there being open setups, so, you kind of got to do different things. You can change the amount of fuel you have in the car. Obviously, the more fuel you have in the car, the heavier it's going to be, as these guys currently are going to end their practice time here. It's going to count down before we go into the gridding lineup between Marty and myself. Going to call this race. Very excited, Marty.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun heat race number 2. Why don't we get to the lineup? 11 drivers strong here. And here is how your front row looks. It's Barry Goldner and Roger Craig, 2 Canadians. Then on the second row, Austin Marla and Greg Parmalee. Row number 3, Joe Canellis and Bill Calder. Austin?
Andy Piercefield, like you said, going to line up P7 with Terry Landis at P8. He's going to be the first of our drivers advancing from that E-main, followed by John Rayner. Steve Bixler is going to round out the top 10, and Jeff Barker is going to round out our 11-car D-main field.
So it should be another exciting D-main, just like what we saw in our E-main. Here is the situation that we've got for you in this D-main. 12-lap D-main. And we will take, if I recall correctly, how do we take this once again, Austin? I'm sorry, my brain's a little fried today.
No worries at all, Marty. I believe we're going to take the top 4 finishers in this one. So unfortunately, 7 guys going home this time instead of only the 2 we had, or excuse me, 3 we had in the earlier race. Currently, these guys are going to pace behind the iRacing pace truck, get the tires warmed up a little bit here, try to see where the grip is out on track. Like I said, though, and Kenny mentioned, the track state's going to go from 0%. They race through it, and now it's going to automatically get either reset or set to that 15% mark, like Kenny said. So these guys are currently out there looking for where the grip is on track, and that's one of the things, JR, you talked about at the top of the show. These drivers have to look for the grip.
Absolutely, and it's going to be moving around. It looks like the grip has actually moved itself back down the track a little bit. You can see most of the track is that medium gray or medium brown color there. So they're going to have some more options here. We got some more moisture in the track, and this could be an exciting race, guys.
For sure, as the iRacing pace truck leads them down the backstretch, going to give over control of the field to Barry Goldner and Roger Craig, the 2 drivers on your front row. Like Marty mentioned, both Canadians. We're going to see how this race plays out. iRacing pace truck pulls down pit road. Now we wait for Barney the flagman to wave the green flag. Green flag comes out. Barry Goldner going to put his foot down on the loud pedal, rocket down into turn 1. Right now, 2x2 Noah's Ark style. As you can see, the drivers currently almost 3 wide. One driver getting a little bit sideways. I believe that's Andy Piercefield. He started 7th. I think he gained a spot in that turn 1 melee. Right now, all the cars, though, going to be a clean first lap, it looks like, as they come out of turn 4. Still Barry Goldner out front.
It was a very scattered start, though, as Steven Bixler and Andy Piercefield got very loosey-goosey at the start of the field. Here's the battle for third inside. John Rayner Jr. down to the basement. Couple of drivers sliding up before that final transfer spot. Joe Canellis has it. He may go for the 2-for-1 discount at the grocery store. Can't get it yet. Side by side for fourth, the best man down low.
Almost pulled a slide job move right there. Jerry, you mentioned pulling a slide job. One of the easier ways to pass here. Is that something we're going to see more and more as the night goes on?
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. I think you're going to. But right now, you see these guys are extremely close to each other. So when you do that slide job, you have to be sure you've got a hole in there to get into. Otherwise, you're going to cause a big collision.
Right now, we're looking at the battle for third place. Going to be the 3rd driver to transfer. Only 1 spot removed from not being able to transfer is right now we look at the slow motion of Terry Landis, that number 61 American from California, going through the turn right here, getting really sideways. You can just see how out of control these cars are almost all the time, almost getting contact with that wall. Makes contact with another car down to his inside and unfortunately spins themselves out. That's definitely not going to help his chances of making the feature event here.
Continuing to watch that battle for 4th position, though, John Rayner all over that wing of Roger Craig. JR trying to find some way, somehow, different lines in turn 1. Craig goes up the track, 3 cars under a blanket, P4 on the line, and a transfer spot to the C main.
As these guys keep fighting, they're only going to invite more of the drivers behind them to come up and join this battle. And now you're going to yellow out on the track.
1 car upside down. It's Bill Calder in turn 4. Steven Bixler also involved. Tries to get that back around. Calder gets back on all 4 so he can keep it on the lead lap and avoid a tow.
Looking at the cause for caution right here. Yep, looks like one driver just got in that little bit of slick part there, trying to go cut the entry of the corner a little bit too narrow there. It's going to be Bill Calder winding up on his side. Unfortunately, that's not going to help his chances of making it into the feature event as we see the lineup kind of resetting here as we go through. 3 laps left, going to be 4 of those. The iRacing pace truck comes by, of course. Caution lap not counting, like Marty said.
And the field cycling around. 2 laps to the green flag. It was a great battle for fourth there, JR, so I'm interested to see if someone takes a big risk here with just about 4 laps to go when we take the restart. Do we see some risky moves down to the inside, or do they wait until the white flag?
Man, it's short race. I think you're going to have to go. For sure, you're going to see some people. I think if you're running in 5th place, you may wait to the last lap, but ultimately, this is a short race. I think you got to go, man.
Absolutely. So we should get the 1 to green this time by from Barney the flagman. And lights go off the iRacing pace truck. So we're set to go green in just a couple of short laps. Reset the field. Barry Goldner, Greg Palmer lead, Joe Canellis, Roger Craig in your top 4. Then 5th, John Rayner. 6th, Jeff Barker. 7th, Austin Marlett. 8th, Andy Piercefield. 9th, Terry Landis. 10th, Bill Calder. 11th, Steven Bixler.
We go through, like you said, lights are out on the iRacing pace truck as he leads the cars through turns 3 and 4 right now. Bringing the field around, he's going to take that harsh left turn down pit road, give command of the field over to Goldner as he rockets down the front stretch. Earlier start from him, going to get a great jump. Absolutely gap the rest of his competitors. You can see quite a bit more spread out right now. The battle still very contested for that last transfer spot. That's going to be Craig trying to defend from John Rayner and Jeff Barker.
Another lower entry into turn 1 that time for Roger Craig. Crossover by Rayner. He tries to look top shelf where Mama hides the cookies, but Roger Craig says, eat your dinner first off of turn 2, boy. Good battle happening for P4 once again.
Yeah, you can see Roger Craig taking that low entry into the corner just to make sure there is no slide job attempt being pulled by the driver behind him of John Rayner as they currently go through turns 1 and 2 a couple more times. White flag, next lap, couple more chances for John to get this spot, last transfer spot away from Roger Craig. Otherwise, his night's over, just like all the drivers behind him.
Jeff Barker in this battle as well for 4th position. He's got something to say about that. Entering the back chute for the final time of the D-main. Rayner takes a peek up top. Does he have anything? Here comes Jeff Barker. Tries the slider, not going to work off of turn 4. Final transfer spot goes to Roger Craig. Barry Goldner, Joe Canellis, Greg Palmer, Lee and the Bassman move to the C-main.
5th place goes to John Rayner. We'll go ahead and go through the rest of the finishing order. Once we get that on your screen, that will take a quick break and come right back with driver interviews from the top 4 who advance from your D main. You can see, as Marty just alluded, Barry Goldner going to finish in first place with Joe Canellis, followed by Greg Parmalee and Roger Craig rounds out the drivers who are going to advance. John Rayner Jr. rounds out your top 5. Marty?
Definitely a fun finish there, that's for sure, as your top 3 pose for a celebratory photo. I believe we are going to take a break first before we interview with your top 4 finishers that transfer over to the C-main. So we'll do that. We'll pause right here. Stay with us on the Virtual Grip Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Virtual Grip Network. Here we're going to interview the first 4 drivers who finish, obviously the ones that advance from the D-main into the C-main. The first of those, obviously, Barry Goldner. Barry, congratulations. You got a copy.
Yep, go ahead.
Fantastic job out front, man. Obviously kind of led there from flag to flag. First off, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was actually probably one of my better runs I've had lately, so I was pretty happy with that.
Definitely, we saw you lead from flag to flag, get a great jump on that restart there. Was the goal just to try and gap the field to make sure you had no pressure from behind?
That's right. Trying to get out and get a little gap, so if I make a mistake, then they're not going to have a chance to catch me.
Gotcha, fantastic idea there, just to make sure you only have to look out the windshield, or at least the visor. Of course, in these dirt cars, no windshields. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
I always want to thank my son, Stephen Goldner, because he gives me a lot of help. And Bendy built race cars.
For sure. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much for your time. I believe Kenny has caught up with our second place finisher.
Brought up Joe Canellis in the booth. Joe, you got a copy?
I do, a copy.
Joe, I saw early on in that race you made a really aggressive move to get up into that top 3 or 4 area. Talk about that battle early on in this race before we had that caution to reset the field.
Well, it wasn't really intentional. I got in a little hot there, just being excited and pushing the car. We have 12 laps. I wasn't trying to, do anything but get in the top 4. But I apologize to the gentleman I got into there. I certainly didn't mean to get up into him. It was completely my fault.
Well, you ended up making it work. You survived. After you made that move, got into that top 4, were you kind of just focusing ahead, or were you thinking a little bit more of the guys behind you and trying to play some defense?
Well, once I had made it there, I certainly wasn't looking to lose any ground, but I'm a racer, so I thought I could get around you clean. I'm going to push, and everybody I pass in this event is one I don't have to pass in the next one, so I just kept pushing.
So now that you've advanced to the next main, how do you feel about your car's setup, and how do you feel about yourself going into this next main?
Well, I like the setup. I got a great teammate in Austin Marlette. Thank you, Austin, for pushing me. I got a great fiance and Tracy Burkhammer. Thank you for allowing me to do this every night. I appreciate it. Love you so much. Got World of Sports podcast behind us, pushing us on, helping us get better here as a team, and I just am out there for them, really. Just trying to put on a show. I'm going to this next event with high hopes.
Well, Joe, you did a great job in this last race. Good luck in the next one.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you guys for putting this on for us. Without you, it's just a league with no sponsors and no viewers, so thank you.
That was Joe Canellis, our second place finisher, and Marty is caught up with our third place finisher.
All right, for the second time, I had to move him back in the waiting room. Greg Parmalee taking home a third place finish there, moves up into the C main. Greg, just walk us through your race, man.
I was just trying to find a good spot to run and just stay up in the top 4 and get comfortable and stay out of trouble. It was a handful, but it's help from Devo and Jack and Keith and Brian Moore. I want to thank all of them for all the help and support, and it's a lot of fun.
Expectations for the C main? It's going to be tough for sure to get from the rear up to the top 4 again.
Yeah, just hope for a little bit of luck and stay out of trouble.
Who do you want to give shout-outs to?
I just want to thank everybody for putting on this race and support that we're giving to everybody, and I just want to thank everybody.
All right, sounds good. We'll let you go. Good luck in just a few moments.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go to our fourth place finisher. And I believe that is Roger Craig that we have. Bassman, holy moly, that was fun. How tough was that trying to play defense for P4? Roger, you got a copy? All right, I think we're having some technical difficulties with him, so I'll just send it back to you guys.
Yeah, thank you there, Marty. Hopefully we can get Roger to come talk to J.R. Shepard here in a couple minutes. J.R.'s always got the best questions in the house when it comes to those things. So hopefully Roger comes back and he gets to get grilled by J.R. Shepard, kidding, of course. What a fantastic race, guys. Obviously a great race for the last transfer spot. I think it's only going to get more and more heated as we see the caliber of drivers here get higher and higher as the night goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll step in on here on this. We've got a lot of drivers to watch out for. I think two of the guys you have to watch closely are number 1, Nathan Aldrich, who's got the Vic Coffee throwback in the number 514 machine. He's a Renegades racer as well. Usually runs in the mid-pack here. I would expect him to be a key for the top 4. But also Dean Reynolds, who got the final spot into the Hard Knocks feature last night. That'd be my sleeper pick here. Dino is just a guy that can drive. He's a respectful, clean driver. Actually, the chairman, the lead guy for Dirt Car Northeast, so he's the main guy that runs the Super Dirt Car series and stuff like that. So I would watch out for him as a sleeper pick. He's hungry.
Yeah, for sure. Kenny, we saw some good battles in that last race. Currently, the names are only going to get better and better. As you're some of these guys that are in, the later mains like the C main and the B main, are you watching the earlier races to kind of see what other drivers have been doing?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you have an opportunity to watch, I think you definitely want to. You want to watch for how the track is racing, because again, the track state's going to be the same for all of these. Granted, the race length is going to be slightly longer. We're up to 15 laps now for this next one. But yeah, you want to see how the track's racing, and you also want to see, these guys that have raced in the previous mains, how they're racing. How did they get their success to get into this main that we're going to race in now? What worked and what didn't for these guys. So I think there's also maybe some scouting going on for drivers specifically, guys that were in the D main. What did they do to get here? So I think guys definitely at least should be doing their homework as we go through this alphabet soup.
So I'll add on here real quick. Top 4 making it in. If you're wondering why we have a small field currently at the moment, the entry list is set for 13 drivers on the C main.
Yeah, for sure. So like Marty alluded to, there are larger and larger fields for each one of these main races as they feed into the feature event. Right now, riding along with Nathan Aldrich, that number 514 car, American from New York. He's currently 6th on the speed charts, is currently practice winding down. So we see some of these other drivers getting ready to advance to their next race. Looking at some of the field here, the competition's only going to get closer and closer. These guys are obviously going to, give less and less space during the races. JR, is that something you see, that's just going to continue further and further as we go through to some of the other races?
Yeah, this field's definitely going to tighten up each and every race that we progress to from now on. We saw in the last race that finish was amazing. Guys were just side by side trying to find a little bit extra to get by the guy in front of them. So we're going to see more of the same as we keep going here.
Right now, as we look at the starting grid for this C main event, Dean Reynolds is going to line up first, followed by Bob DeGood in second. Chad Cody's going to line up third, followed by G.J. Boydell in fourth. Kenny?
5th place will be Brian Dickens, Ryan Carlisi in 6th place, and 7th place will be Nathan Aldrich, who we were riding on board with in practice there.
So Marty, as these guys line up to follow the iRacing pace truck around for our pacing laps, can you tell us why some of the drivers that would have advanced from the last race into this race aren't here?
Yeah, this is very interesting. So trying to listen in here into race control and what's going on here, but it should be the listening in here through race control. If you can hear it, apologies here. But we should have the bottom 4 already in here to the C main. I'm not sure if we're supposed to be, the bottom 4 are supposed to be in here. So Kevin Fry, our race director, is saying keep on doing what you're doing. So I'm very interested in what's going on here.
Yeah, obviously I think they're just as confused as we are up here in the booth, so looks like these drivers are going to continue. Of course, lights seem to be out on the iRacing pace truck, so one more lap to go behind him until he relinquishes control of the field over to Mr. Reynolds, and he's going to get us rolling for this C main event. Kenny?
And I almost wonder if maybe it was a problem with the league session. Maybe it wasn't made with those drivers put into it. But Marty, if you do get any updates, feel free to chime in and let us know.
Yeah,
Is
I got.
about-
Yeah,
is what-
sorry, Kenny. I got one actually right now. This session actually started the same time when we joined in the D session, so that could be the reason why. We have added a lap onto the pace truck. Listening here on on race control, they haven't said anything right now at the moment, but that could be the reason why the session started a little bit too early.
Yeah, I think you definitely could be right there. If the lineups were catered to certain drivers, and those guys obviously had to register for the previous session, but if they were both up at the same time, they may have not been able to make it into this one. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear here. It looks like I think we'll be going.
Apparently, I'm hearing here that there is a different session up that the 4 transfers are in for some reason. I'm going to take a look and I'll provide you guys updates when I can.
Yeah, currently the field just pacing behind that iRacing pace truck. JR, from a driver's standpoint, talk to us about what this does. You know, we see it in NASCAR all the time where the drivers get ready to go, they're pumped up, the nerves are kind of settled as much as they can be. You might still have the butterflies, but all of a sudden maybe it rains and the race is, sort of postponed for a while. What does that do to you mentally?
Mentally, it's a disappointment. So you've got yourself amped up, you're focused, you know what you need to do in this race, and then there's something that causes a delay. So you're trying to get yourself calmed down, refocused on the task at hand. But right now, we're not sure when they're going to be able to pick up and go. So yeah, these guys are just trying to relax, I think, right now and get their mindset back right. But whenever we do go green, they're going to have to be focused on what they've got to do here.
For sure, yeah, definitely something weird. I don't think this has ever happened in my iRacing career that a race has been postponed like this. Certainly we have had a rain out in our BRL competition that you can find on the Virtual Grip Network. We've had that happen a couple times and had the race postponed because of a iRacing failure to host the session and put it up in time, so we had to just call the race. But never seen one happen quite like this, as the laps are currently still at 0 as caution laps don't count. But it looks like these guys are going to go racing here.
Yeah, one way or another, this show's going to have to go on because we can't finish all the mains without, one after another. A pace truck is off, though, so it looks like I think we're going to go green here.
Yeah, he's going to relinquish control of the field over to Mr. Reynolds as he puts his foot down on the gas pedal, rockets out into turn 1. Huge jump for him. You can see the guy in third place, so Bobby Good, able to get a huge jump to rocket himself into the second spot right now. Excuse me, that might have been Dickens actually, but currently they go through turns 3 and 4 right now. Not quite as bunched up. Caution flag thrown again.
Yeah, so this is a competition caution here, and they're all going to move into the different session here. So. So that's the situation. So we're gonna have to switch sessions here, Kenny and JR. So, yeah.
Well,
yeah, obviously. Go ahead, Kenny.
Well, I was just gonna say that's just gonna be a little bit different, but it's good that I think it's good that they're doing this. They're giving the drivers who got in, who earned their way in, they're giving them a legitimate shot to make it in like they should. So a little bit of technical difficulties, but I think this is totally worth it. It's going to make this next race, much more exciting with a larger field and get the guys in there who earned a spot, who deserve to be in there, a chance to advance. So bear with us, but I promise you this will be a very good race.
Yeah, for certain. It's a good thing you mentioned that, too, because those 4 drivers, of course, earned the right to be in this race. They deserve it. They fought for that. Just the same as the veterans fought for their freedom to do that. Of course, this whole charity night devoted to veterans and their families. So again, we want to thank them. Veterans Day, of course, just happening. If you ever see a veteran in public, I always make it a point to go up to them and thank them for their service. Of course, handshake, always appreciated. But unfortunately, in the times of COVID, you might just have to walk up next to them and say it instead of going for the old routine handshake. But it looks like the sessions are up.
Yep. So they are getting this. I think what they're going to do here, I'm not too sure. I'm going to check with them if we're going to completely skip the warm-up and go right to the lineup. So we'll see what's going to happen here.
For sure, as we try to join this next session, get all of our cameras ported over to that so that we can see it. Director Mike Yao can see it and make sure he gives us the absolute best views of the racing here to see who can advance through the C main. And, you know, maybe if the guys that are here from the D main could get a chance to also advance into the B main as we keep gearing up towards this absolutely fantastic finale of an A main feature event here. Just gonna wait to see what Marty hears down in the race directing room. You can see him there in a live feed talking to them in the other Discord channel. Kenny, what does this do? Obviously, you know, all the drivers were probably feeling dejected. Does it ever go through your mind that, you know, maybe they'll just call it here and we won't get a chance to race into the B main?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been plenty of times where, you know, we've had special events and either iRacing screws up or something involving the sessions is screwed up, and they just kind of, you know, send it and go, well, this is what we're going to deal with, and that's it, which is a really unfortunate situation. But I really applaud the guys at C2C for trying to fix this, and they are going to get it fixed. We just have to be patient and get this righted. But you know, they could have just said, oh, this is the race and this is it, but they didn't. They went and said, we're going to fix this and we're going to get it right. And it looks like we have a new session up. Guys are out on the track, and this field size makes a little more sense now. So I perceive this to be a very short practice session, and then we'll get going. Marty, you think everything got fixed there?
Yeah, everything should be fixed and good to go. Just there's only one guy that is currently blacked out on the entry list, and that is Roger. I think at this moment he's either trying to remedy the problem or just get this lineup updated. That's what I think it is on my end, but everyone's still doing some extra warm-ups here, so I'll keep feeding back information.
Yeah, currently though he is grayed out on that entry list, so it does mean he is entered. He probably just isn't loaded into the sim yet, so of course him being the leader of the league, obviously it's not going to go off without him. So I assume at this point, Kenny, like you said, they're probably going to wait till all the drivers have entered in and loaded in the session before they get going here. Probably going to be a very short practice session. JR, what does this do as a driver? Obviously to have that hard reset to now, you know, maybe think you were completely out of it. You know, are you feeling more confident in yourself as you go into this race now that you finally have a main shot to get into that B main?
Yeah, you've definitely gone through a large range of emotions there. You knew that you transferred in, you're expecting to get to race, and then all of a sudden you can't get into the session. So you're completely dejected, probably a little bit upset, but now you're getting that shot to race your way into the next level. So I think these guys have got another boost of confidence, and they know what they've got to do. They just got done racing, so they're going to go at it here.
Yeah, for sure. Great insight there on that from the driver's perspective, as we see a couple of these drivers right now out there practicing. Currently first on the board is going to be Joe Canellis right now with a 15.260, followed by Chad Cody. You can see, I think this is pretty much going to be how the guys are going to line up. We haven't seen too much variation in terms of lap time and who all is the fastest out on track, as currently we're just waiting for everyone else to enter the session and get it ready to grid up here.
One thing to note, Joe Canellis, though, he is about a quarter second faster than second place Chad Cody, who's on your screen right now. JR, does that, I mean, yeah, the track's relatively fresh, but, and these practices are going to be short, but, I mean, a difference like that just from first to second, that's got to stand out to you, don't you think?
Yes, yeah, that would bother me if I was not the fastest guy for sure. So, definitely Canellis has found something here. I don't know what his lap times are consistently, but being that much faster on a single lap is a little bit disturbing to the competition. So at the same time, we know that four guys are advancing. So because of that, I don't know that you're going to be too worried about it. You know, you're going to have to race three guys instead of four maybe.
Yeah, exactly there, JR. Currently, though, race director Kevin Fry just asking people to be a little bit patient to make sure that all the drivers get a chance to show up here. One thing, though, I want to point out, too, Kenny, obviously, you know, spoke about the gap between first and second being that quarter of a second. But look at the gap as we go down through the field here. You can see there's, you know, no gap between Chad Cody and Bob DeGood, and you go through the rest of the field, we're talking about gaps in, tenths of hundredths of seconds here as you go from one driver down to the next.
Yeah, and that seems to have been kind of the trend in all of these mains is, first and second have seemed to kind of maybe get away, and then third place on back has just been a dogfight in all of these races. But the crazy thing is, Joe Canellis, who has that top speed right now, he actually advanced through from the last main, so he's going to be starting near the back. And Marty, do you think Canellis is maybe a guy who could potentially charge through the field and advance again?
Canellis currently with a 15:26, but remember, this is a track that is currently tacky at the moment. Remember, this track is going to change up. There's a little rubber currently down in 1 and 2, and the more hot laps, the more this track is going to get slicked in. So it'll be interesting to see here. I don't think Canellis is the best really when it comes to slick tracks, so we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, hang on. Kieran from Race Control, the situation with Roger, he's having some headset issues. We're waiting for a couple of more minutes, and if he doesn't join, then we're going without him.
Yeah, unfortunately there to ditch that sort of no man left behind, but of course the show does need to go on. Currently a couple minutes past when we should have been wrapping up the C or the B main, excuse me, right now. So as we go forward, currently though Joe Canellis still the fastest driver out there, and not much of a change in terms of fastest laps. That's just going to be, like you said, JR. Track gets slicker and slicker, so it slows down.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely slows down. You're going to have to change the way you drive these vehicles. These, typically I think these vehicles with the horsepower they have and the stagger that they've got in the rear end, typically kind of want to rotate the rear end getting into the corner. They're really loose getting into the corner. So got to watch how you drive it, especially if the track slickens off. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, I think, if we get it going here.
Go on live
yeah,
action,
for certain. As we're going to go here to look at your grid for, I believe this is the C-Main event for the Disabled Veterans Charity Race. Dean Reynolds going to start first, followed by Bob DeGood in second. Chad Cody lines up third with TJ Boydell in fourth. Brian Dickens lines up fifth, followed by Ryan Carlisi in sixth. Kenny?
Nathan Aldrich will be in seventh. Barry Goldner will be in eighth, who won the previous main. Joe Canellis will be in ninth. Greg Parmalee in 10th. And Roger Craig is lined up in 11th. We'll see if he's able to compete.
Right now, all the drivers currently exiting pit road behind that iRacing pace truck. They're going to have 2 laps to pace behind it before control of the field is handed over to Mr. Reynolds to go ahead and get started. At JR, we saw him get an absolutely huge jump on the field in that first restart. Do you anticipate something like that happening again?
Yeah, he spoke about snookering the field on the start. He's probably going to have something else up his sleeve here to just get that little slight jump. That's all you need. It doesn't have to be a big jump, just something small, so you can get control of that first corner and get the flow of the race going your way.
Yeah, for certain. Is that something where you start a little bit earlier, a little bit later? Kenny, how far do you think someone like Joe Canellis or Barry Goldner can make it up through the field?
Well, I think the start is going to be really important. These guys are going to have to manage traffic. A slightest mistake could make you lose 3 or 4 spots easily. So I think it's fair game. I mean, these guys, they got a little bit of time, 15 laps, but you got to get a clean start, and you got to take advantage of every little opportunity that comes up, and you also can't make mistakes of your own. So do I think it's possible? Yes, but it's going to be tough for sure because, like I said, these guys are getting faster and faster as we go on.
Yeah, for certain. iRacing pace truck coming through turns 3 and 4. Going to hand over control of the field here to Mr. Reynolds. As he's waiting. Foot on the loud pedal. iRacing green flag flies. A bit of a better jump than he got last time. Fortunately enough for him, as you can see, the car is going about 3 wide through turns 1 and 2. One guy there going to lose out a lot. I believe that was Bob DeGood actually losing a lot of spots on the outside as we come around here to complete our first lap.
Bob DeGood just went around, guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Bob DeGood wrecked in turns 3 and 4. No caution yet though, so the leaders still have their foots firmly planted on the 4 as we go through some of the first laps here. We're going to see the cause for Bob's problems here.
Yeah, Bob got swept out of the groove in turn 1 and 2, and then again in 3 and 4, just totally taken advantage of. But then never seemed to really get control back, and just kind of ran out of room. He was 3 wide a couple times, and ended up on the short end of that one.
Yeah, you can see it looks like he just got out there into the marbles. There's virtually no grip like JR talked about. You want to be in that light gray area, or brown rather, before you get up into those marbles. That's just like having marbles on the road in real life. There's virtually no grip there. As we can see, battle for the lead developing between Mr. Reynolds and Chad Cody here, as these drivers currently, one on the bottom of the track, one on the upper part of the track, currently trading faster laps right now. As you can see, that gap really close between the top 2 of them right now, down to about 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, this is probably the closest battle for a lead in one of these mains that we've seen so far. Cody all over the back of Dean Reynolds here as we're slowly approaching the halfway point of this C main. And the third place driver, Brian Dickens, has already shown himself up into this battle. And, it's pretty spread out behind them. But these guys battling for the lead might actually make this battle closer and closer, even for a 4th spot.
Yeah, as our leaders right now fight between Reynolds and Cody, that's obviously, like you just mentioned, Kenny, allowed Brad Dickens to kind of catch up to him and now put his name in the hat for even, the winning this C-main event here. And as these guys do battle, they're obviously going to slow down. Oh, they've actually wrecked all 3 of our leaders right now combined. That's going to be a huge wreck that's going to allow the rest of the field to pass them. I don't think a single one of the first 3 drivers that was out front is still out there right now.
Wow, that is totally going to change everything. The top 3 guys, Dickens with an ambitious move to the bottom. I thought he was going to maybe just try to hook the bottom, but he just slides up. And, the leader came down just a little, but that's definitely more so on Dickens's fault there. And it just kind of wipes out all 3 of them. And this is going to totally change the complexion of this race. You're going to have damaged cars, Reynolds heading into the pits. We'll have to see how this shakes out here and who ends up in the lead. Remember, it's green laps only, so it might revert back to the last lap with who is out in front, but as the caution came out, which might save some of these guys. I see Cody making his way back up towards the front, but like I said, at least 1 or 2 of these guys are pitting for damage. And JR, even if you do have damage, is this a situation where maybe you just stay out and hope for the best?
With as few of laps as we have remaining here, I think you're going to have to try that. I just don't know that you can come back through the field, with whatever we're going to have here, 6 or 7 laps to go. So, I think if you have a position where you can start in the top 4, you're going to have to try to hold on to it.
Something I'm going to add as well here, guys. You guys saw what happened as Dickens just simply sent it in way too hard. I was listening, driver chat was just enabled for a split second. Dean Reynolds was hot, and I mean really hot. Now the first guy out in 5th position, and wrong timing, excuse me. Now look who this moves up as well. Greg Palmer-Lee, Barry Goldner, Joe Canellis I think is up there as well. No, excuse me, Nathan Aldrich is in the lead, and Roger Craig's in 3rd.
Right now, as the iRacing pace truck is going to, they're actually going to allow some cars to do a wave around. They've added 1 more lap to the caution period here, so we are going to see guys like Nathan Aldrich. I believe there's 2 more cars behind him. It's going to be Carlisi, and I believe that's Craig. Also going to be able to go around that iRacing pace truck to kind of get their lap back, quote unquote, to try and pack up behind this field. Yeah, it looks like just a bit of an overzealous move there by Dickens, and of course allows some of our drivers that did, advance into this main from the last, the D main, to, now try and throw their hat into advancing to the B main.
Yeah, we'll have to see how iRacing scores this. Once we go green, the intervals and the relatives will all be kind of reset here. It's a little bit messed up because of the fact of the green flag laps only counting, and with guys up in the front really getting mixed up from that wreck. So we'll have to see how this plays out. The guy right behind the pace truck right now is Bob DeGood. Not exactly sure if he is the actual leader. Chad Cody is right behind him, followed by Dean Reynolds. And they're delaying the yellow again here. So we're going to have about half of this race still left. And, JR, think about Dean Reynolds here. You were up in the lead, basically just got wiped out, but you still have a chance here How do you clear your head and stay focused going into the second half of this C main?
Yeah, you got to get your head back in the game for sure. So he's going to have to reel his emotions back in. Look at the cars that he's got ahead of him. Look at who he's got behind him. He's raced with these guys. He knows kind of what to expect, and he's just going to have to find a good spot to be in for the rest of this race to be able to transfer in.
Yeah, for certain they added another lap there to the caution period. So lights finally out. Oh, they've added another one.
Yeah, the scoring is a little bit confusing when it comes to iRacing. You know, when you've got drivers that were in the top 3 all taking each other out, some of them keeping it straight, it can get very confusing. It's still Bob DeGood and Chad Cote, Reynolds, and Palmer Lee, our unofficial top 4 at the moment. And this could be big for guys like Palmer Lee, who remember finished 3rd in the D main. And Joe Canellis, by the way, when we went under yellow, was running in 5th position. And I think Boydell was 4th at the time. Now they moved Reynolds to the back of the field because he was involved in the wreck. I think that's the situation.
Yeah,
And
over at the
are we
racing
going-
chat right now, they're saying that the 79 will be moved to the back. Boydell is first, followed by Canellis. You can see them right now trying to reorganize the field here down the backstretch. They've added now another lap to the caution. This has been quite the kerfluffle, probably the most disorganization I've seen on iRacing's part during a caution flag. Of course, that's what's going to happen when the caution laps don't count, so they go after the last timing and scoring loop on the track. And of course, that means that some of the drivers that make it through the wreck, iRacing puts them to the back, but at the same time they're involved in the wreck, so it doesn't really know what to do here. So you can see, looks like that's going to be the number 7 car up front with the, I believe that's the 14 to his outside of Boydell. Behind him is going to be the 11 of Chad Cody, and then I cannot tell who that is in 4th position.
Yeah, I mean, Reynolds definitely should be towards the back because he actually pitted and took his fast repair after that. But I'm pretty sure Cody pitted for his fast repair as well. So not exactly sure where he should be lining up. But again, you know, some of the guys aren't even in the race anymore. So we're doubled up at the moment, and it looks like we're going to go green. Well, actually, we're doubled up because of maybe lap cars. Not sure. Here we go. We're going green, and everything should fix itself here. As we go down into turn 1, Chad Cody on the high side, battling side by side with Bob DeGood, and another caution is out, and that's not going to make anything better.
No, I believe they might have done that to reset the field because, of course, it doesn't show Bob DeGood as being the first car. I think they did that just to separate them to make sure they could do the wave around correctly. I believe they did that because Chad Cody got a black flag, and I think that was one of the cases where you come out of a closed pit road because, of course, like you mentioned there, Kenny, great job seeing that. He went down pit road, took his fast repair. I believe he was just staying behind the pace car, hadn't been waved around or hadn't let the drivers behind him pass him like they should have. So currently it's going to be Boydell, 5 by Canellis, Parmalee, Barry Golder, and then Bob DeGood is going to line up 5th. So definitely a huge shakeup there as we started the race. I believe all the drivers are still out on track though, but it's hard to tell as none of them are a lap down since we haven't completed many more laps since that the caution came out. Currently going to be on lap 9 out of 15 as the official iRacing scoring goes.
Marty, do you have any updates from race control on that situation?
I think the situation was there was a line that was like longer than another line, so part of that may have had to do with the yellow. And now race control is clearing some black flags at the moment. Some of them may be closing because of the closed pit road, which you can do in the Coast2Coast Racing League. Sometimes, you know, the heads-up displays on iRacing where who you're supposed to be behind, who you pass as well, can be very glitchy. So part of that can happen there is we've got 1 to go until we get the green flag.
Yeah, multiple drivers getting black flags cleared. You know, one thing to keep in mind with the caution laps not counting is sometimes your position will appear incorrect, but a lot of times you just have to stay behind the car that it's telling you to stay behind, and it'll wash itself out once you go green. So maybe some confusion going on there. Not sure. Again, that situation where the leaders all wrecked just made it that much worse, and the fact that it was coming out of turn 4 is we're going to go green here, and we'll see if we can reset with GJ Boydell leading the field. I think we're correct now.
Yeah, pretty decent start from Boyd Dallas. He leads them down into turns 1 and 2, followed closely by Canales and, of course, Parmalee in third. Fourth place going to go to Barry Goldner. Currently, he's the last person that would advance into the B main as they run right now. We're going to look at Barry Goldner right now, and that's Stephen Goldner racing number 36 car. You can see him kind of getting a little bit squirrely. Coming out of the turn there, you can see all that black down on the inside. That's where it's the slickest right now. You can see that's why we had that spin earlier. A bit of a slide job move. So currently, slide job's not able to do a whole lot.
6 cars left on the lead lap after all of this, as we're on to lap 11 now, and it's kind of a train. The top 5 cars kind of starting to break away from the rest of the field, but Barry Goldner holding on to that 4th spot, but only by a slim margin, as Chad Cody was one of the front runners early on, trying to make a move on him. He's looking to the outside and looking to maybe do a crossover. That's what he was working on earlier, and it might work as we go down into turn 3, as we also have a battle for the lead going on, as Joe Canellis is looking for more against G.J. Boydell.
Yeah, 2 fantastic battles on the track right now. You can see Canellis just trying to ride behind Boydell, find out where he's weaker. Is it on corner entry or corner exit? Maybe it's the center of the corner. Maybe he's not rolling it as well. You can see Canellis tries to hold the bottom right here, side by side, as they come out of turn 4 down the front stretch to take the white flag. 1 lap to go. He's only going to have 2 more chances to take the lead. Gets really sideways down there at the bottom, really squirrely. He's got to be real careful to make sure he doesn't throw away more positions, make sure he can even continue to advance into the B main. So you can see that's going to be Boydell leading them out of turn 4 to take the checkered flag, followed by Canellis, Parmalee, and Cody. Going to round out your top 4 of the drivers who advance into the B main.
Yeah, Chad Cody made a really good effort there. He actually tried to get 1 more spot there at the end. And how about Canellis and Parmalee both advancing through the last 2 heats? And what is that? Is that going to be 3 interviews now that Marty will have to do with Greg Parmalee?
I believe so, as right now we're going to go through your finishing order. Like I just mentioned, G.J. Boydell going to finish 3rd, followed by Joe Canellis in 2nd, Greg Parmalee in 3rd. Chad Cody lines up 4th, the last driver to advance the B main. Barry Goldner going to finish 5th. Kenny?
Bob DeGood finishes the last car on the lead lap, followed by Nathan Aldrich in 7th, Ryan Carlisi in 8th, Roger Craig in 9th, and front runner Dean Reynolds ends up down in 10th. And then Brian Dickens dead last after that scuffle in that race early on. So we will take a quick break here, and we will bring in our top 4 drivers from the C main as we prepare for the B main. We'll be right back.
This is my husband, Alex Hussey. Alex is about 2 weeks away from coming home.
I was point man in foot patrol, and I stopped on the bomb. Lost my legs, my left hand in an explosion.
And he suffered a severe traumatic brain injury.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
There are so many mountains to climb, and we do it together.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
Come on, Alex, take on this mountain. That's what this is all about.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
Alex has conquered this mountain. That's something he won't forget.
With the right support, there are no limits.
Look at that smile! You did it!
But there's more to be done, and more victories to be won.
This has meant so much.
Thank you, DAV.
Alex Hussey, thank you for your service. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Virtual Grip Network along with the Coast2Coast Racing League. Currently, we're going to interview the top 4 finishers from your C-main event. Of course, these drivers advance into the B-main event. Talking to us first is the winner of that event, G.J. Boydell. G.J., obviously, very topsy-turvy race.
Yeah, that was certainly had some ups and downs to it, a little bit of technical issues, but we got her done. Hey, that's how it goes.
Yeah, certainly. Talk us through the emotions there of, first the race being, postponed a little bit. Then, of course, you finally do get to go racing. And then obviously, the top three competitors kind of taking themselves out.
Yeah, having watched the E&D mains, your blood gets going, and you're sitting here waiting and waiting, and then finally it's your turn. You're like, okay, let's just go 15 laps. Like Kevin says, clean and green. And yeah, we had an issue there. So yeah, as soon as I saw that happen, we were just talking about it in the waiting room. I just turned dead left and kept on the gas.
Yeah, fantastic strategy there. End up working out a treat for you. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
I just want to actually give a hats off to all the independents out there. I know there's a lot of sponsorship stuff, but yeah, hats off to the independent guys out there like myself. So.
Yeah, fantastic. As Kenny often says, he's privateering this thing. Obviously, he uses a different word when we talk off air, but once again, congratulations on your run tonight.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to the B main and shake and repeat.
Yes, sir. Well, good luck the rest of the way. Thank you so much for your time. I believe Kenny has caught up with our second place finisher.
Joe Canellis, second time talking to you, but it's for all the right reasons. Joe, P2 in that one. How are you feeling after that one?
Feeling pretty good. Just trying to hang in here, stay in this race as long as I can.
Talk about it first. You guys had the technical issues where you guys that advanced through the previous main were not able to get into the session. Did you kind of think your chances were maybe over at that point?
No, I have faith in Roger and the guys. I know you all would work through it. I actually was able to get into the correct session of the session they went with at the end, so I got in the one that they went with. Had a little less difficulty than some, I guess.
And once we actually got racing, we had that huge wreck with the leaders. What were the thoughts going through your mind after you found out you were much closer to the front after that point?
Well, at that point, I was sitting in fifth and trying to catch Boydell, who's wicked fast, and just trying to stay in the race, and saw that happen up top, and luckily just followed him through the pack.
And again, before you head on to the B main, have anybody to thank for your run tonight?
Yeah, really. Tracy, love you. Austin, we'll see you tomorrow, and you guys get out and listen to World of Sports podcast with Mike and Rod. Those guys put it out of the ballpark. They give you all the hockey action, football action, you name it. So I appreciate you guys and appreciate the league. So thanks for putting this on for us.
All right. Thanks, Joe, for your time, and good luck in the next one.
Thank you.
Okay, the 751 or the 820?
All right, Greg, you're on a hot mic, by the way. Just a heads up, I had to move you into the broadcast chat because we got to talk with you once again for finishing in third position. That was a crazy heat. Just walk us through your perspective there, and how'd you manage to avoid the top three getting together?
Well, I seen the leaders ahead of me there working the high line, and I just started working my way down, and then next thing I know, they get together and made up a few spots and just kind of stayed out of trouble and worked my way to the front. It was a handful. It was a lot of luck.
Now you have to go through the B main. That's going to probably be the toughest of them all before getting to the Knoxville National Finals. Just what's your mentality like now?
Well, like I said, stay out of trouble, stay aggressive, find a good line, and just try to move forward, and hope my setup is close to get me to the front.
All right, go ahead and shout them out again.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for putting this on, and of course, everybody in the sim racing group. Good luck, and let's get her done.
All right, sounds good. Greg, I'll put you back into the waiting room so you can move back. Good luck.
All right, thank you.
All right, fourth place.
We'll see if we can move Chad Cody in here for JR. There we go.
Got him now, guys. I appreciate it. Hey, Chad, we've got you here in the booth. Congratulations on transferring in. First off, I want to ask you what the racetrack's like. How's the groove changing? How's the track progressing through the night?
As you tick off the laps with more cars, it pushes up. It just gets closer to the wall. If you keep your tires in the moisture, you should be fine.
Absolutely. That's kind of what we were seeing. I do have to ask you, man, great racing up front. There was some contact about halfway through. Talk us through that contact and then what it took to get your mind reset so you could get transferred in.
Well, I had a spotter tell me that we had someone low, and I could hear him, and I was on the leader as well, and then I seen him like just slide up a little bit and get into Dean, so I tried to go around, and I thought they were going to go left, and instead they came right. But as for a reset, it was put your foot to the floor and get in fourth position.
Yeah, we speculated that's what it was going to take to get in. You did a great job, man. Appreciate you talking with us. Is there anybody that you want to thank for tonight's run?
Yeah, all the boys over at ADM, Cody, Jason, Steve, Fernie, Ryan, we put a banger of a setup together, and this thing's on rail, so we'll see what we can do in the B.
Yep. Congratulations, Chad. Good luck next round here.
Thanks, guys.
That was J.R. Shepard catching up with our last driver to advance into the B main here. Very, very interesting race there. Fantastic battle for the lead in the first laps there after a very tumultuous start to that, where some of the drivers that had advanced from the D main weren't even able to race in the C main, it looked like. So we had to then jump out of that session, come into a different session here. And now we're, of course, getting ready for the B main. JR, do you expect for these drivers to only get more and more competitive as the night goes on? Obviously, we saw, those drivers were not giving a single inch.
No, absolutely, there weren't. So yeah, it's going to be guys fighting here. It's go time to get into the final event. So anybody that thinks they have the setup, thinks they have the car and the track position that they need to go up there and get into the top four and transfer, they're going to go after it.
For sure. I want to hand it over to Marty here real quick. Marty, as we've done at the beginning of each of these main events, as we go through the alphabet soup here, as Kenny called it at the top of the show, who's your pick to win this main event?
Oh, that's a tough one. This is really an open chess match at the moment. I got to say, Liam Garrison looking pretty good right now. Early here in practice, he's one of our Knoxville National only drivers. Isn't one that really is a part of the Coast2Coast Racing League full time. He's on pole for tonight's race event as well, so he's someone to watch out for. Another key driver is Donovan Ross in the number 7 tonight. Ross has been someone that's been really key in our Renegades division this season, so I'd watch out for him very closely. He was a fast car in, I want to say it was Hard Knocks as well last night, and then he got part of that part of a wreck that literally sent him into the infield pit party. Like, I'm not joking, the infield pit party in the grass, and did not lead to a top 16 starting spot or Hard Knocks, or winning the top 4 in Hard Knocks. And then Aiden Young, starting from 6th tonight. He loves to run the low side. He's one of our faster runners, second in Renegade points coming in. It's, like I said, open chess match. Nobody knows what's going to happen in this B main, and I cannot wait to see what happens for the 22 laps.
For certain, they're a great insight as we get started to go with these guys currently out on track, trying to put down the fastest laps possible. Liam Garrison, of course, the fastest out of those drivers. Currently, I believe this is the fastest lap we've seen tonight with that 15.199. You can see, though, Joe Cannell is the fastest driver from the last session's practice, currently second on the board with a 15.269. A pretty nice lap from him there. And then as you go through the rest of the field, there's a big gap down to 3rd place. It's going to be Lance Ripka. And then behind him, it's very tight from driver to driver as you go through the field deeper and deeper. Of course, Donovan Ross, like you mentioned, one of the favorites here tonight. Currently not the fastest time, but that's what's going to happen when he gets out there not too early in the session. Some less already put down on the track, so it's not as grippy, as tacky as JR had mentioned. Kenny, as we see, you get through to these guys running. Obviously, they've been looking right now. What are some of the things you think they've picked up on from the earlier races?
Well, I mean, part of it's the aggression level. Guys are not afraid to make moves, whether they work or not. The other thing is, just the general urgency. But the track in the line that guys are running too. It seems to be kind of like middle to higher line, but we've seen guys be able to make that bottom line work. You can slide up in front of guys if you're committed to it, and if you have enough room to do it, you can make other lines work. But yeah, I think the main thing that I've taken away from this is just the urgency. Now, granted, these races are getting longer and longer. We're almost up to like a feature race length now at this point, at 22 laps for this B main. But now, these guys are going to make it to the A main, the final event, if they finish in the top 4. So, this is as close as we're going to get to a feature without it being one. So the stakes are as high as they've been all night tonight. So I just expect the urgency to continue.
Yeah, for certain. Currently, we would be starting the race, but one of our competitors, Keith Jackson, has been disconnected due to the incoming packet loss. Obviously, an upload problem on his behalf, so iRacing just kind of dropped him from the session. So they're going to give him about another minute and a half before he gets ready here to join. Unfortunate there for him. Fortunately, though, and I do applaud them for this, even though they do have a schedule to keep, they want to get the show on the road. They're going to let all the competitors come in here to make sure they can race. Of course, this is just a fun event, bringing home the checkered flag or the steering wheel for some of these guys as we get ready to race here.
One thing I just want to note about some of the details for this race is whoever finishes in the top 4 for this B main, that'll set the grid spots of 17 to 20 for the main event A main, which will have a total of 25 drivers. And after this, will be the Veterans Only mini-series, which we'll get to that in a little bit, which will give another final provisional spot into that A main before we get going here tonight for the final event. So lots more racing yet to come, 2 longer races to follow this one. But yeah, this is going to be the most important main yet. And worth noting that we've seen guys that have advanced through multiple mains tonight in Canellis and Parmalee, guys that have done a lot of racing already tonight. Marty?
Something I want to add here as well, there are actually 26 on the entry list outside of the 24 that qualify for the Knoxville Nationals. We've got also that Veterans Provisional. We'll go through the points later on after the B main. But there is also an auction bid happening to benefit Disabled American Veterans and Honor House. We are checking to see who the auction bid is going to. Taking a look here. Right now, the final bid, as of what we have, belongs to Jeff Barker for $60 per the Facebook page, but we are not sure officially just yet.
Yeah, of course, giving Keith another minute here to get back into the session. I believe he's finally reconnected, so going to give him a couple more minutes to actually load into the session. Of course, be able to grid up before we go ahead and get these guys 2 by 2 behind the iRacing pace car, and then end up going through your starting order here.
Another thing to note, Greg Parmalee, who advanced, like I said before, through a few different heats, or mains, I should say, has not turned a lap in this practice session, so not sure if that was by design or not, but he has done plenty of racing tonight, so I don't blame him if he wants to take a break.
Yeah, honestly, like we said, we've been clicking through these races pretty fast. So if you're one of those guys like Parmalee or even Canellis, you've done multiple heats at this point. This is, for some of these drivers, Canellis especially going to be his 3rd heat in a row before he gets going. A great time to go to the bathroom, maybe get up, grab a drink of water while some of these other drivers get loaded in. And yeah, like you said, he's already completed, at this point, at least 30 laps on this track. I do want to mention, though, as we keep going up and up through these heat races, or these mains, as we call them, to the alphabet soup, like you referred to it as, Kenny, we keep tacking on more and more laps to these races. So this time, 22 laps in this event.
Yeah, and that's just going to lead to a little more a little more track wear, and a little more time for these guys to possibly get spread out, but also a little more time for mistakes to happen. But it's also a little more time for some opportunity. Guys like Chad Cody, who I thought, even though he did advance, I thought he was fast enough to get maybe a spot or 2 more than what he did get in that race in the last main. But I think for guys like him, it's an opportunity. You know, these an extra 7 laps is a lot of time to be able to set up your passes. And JR, you know what? You're one of those guys who's already run a couple of races tonight. Do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage?
It could go either way, honestly, Kenny. In my opinion, I think it's an advantage. You've had seat time. Track may change a little bit. You're racing with a little bit different drivers, but you kind of know what to expect. You kind of have a game plan going in. Some of these guys that haven't been on the track yet tonight are going to see things for the first time. So, in my opinion, I think it's an advantage, and these guys need to make sure that they use it and try to get full advantage of that advantage early.
Yeah, for certain. You know, we keep having these laps tacked on more and more as currently the field's going to be lining up behind that iRacing pace truck as we're going to walk you through here on our starting order. Right now, Liam Garrison is going to line up on pole, followed by Brian Moore. Randy Shrebs is going to line up third, followed by Lance Ripka in fourth. Fifth place is going to be Donovan Ross, followed by Aiden Young in sixth, JR.
In seventh, we have Keith Jackson. Eighth, we got G.J. Boydell. Ninth, we have Joe Canellis. 10th, we have Greg Parmalee. And in 11th place, we have Chad Cody, sorry.
iRacing pace truck going to pull these drivers off pit road and go ahead for the 2 laps of caution here we have to kind of get these guys all lined up. I do want to mention, though, 2 open setups in this league. So obviously, you know, some of these drivers that have had a fast car earlier, maybe as the sun goes down, the track's going to get a lot cooler as the race goes on. JR, is that something, you know, what do you expect these cars to do as the track temperature goes down?
I think these cars are going to go a little bit faster. For one, going to have a little bit more downforce, probably. This is open setup, so the one thing we don't know is how everybody's car is driving, and hopefully it's driving to their liking, but because if it is, we're going to see some great racing. We're going to have a lot of grip in the track right now. Looks like it has a lot of moisture in it, so going to be really faster at the start.
Yeah, for sure. Like Kenny mentioned, though, track state obviously reset to 15% track usage, so the track's only going to get slicker and slicker as the night goes on. This is the most cars we've had, tied at least, so the track's going to wear faster, just as fast as we've seen it on pace with, you know, the fastest we've seen it. So iRacing pace truck going to lead these drivers through turns 3 and 4 and then give command of the field over to Mr. Garrison to go ahead and lead them down to the green here. Barney the flagman waits to wave the green flag until Liam says he'd like to put his foot down and hit the go pedal down the front stretch. Liam's going to do that, lead the field down into turns 1 and 2. Not the kind of jump we've seen from some of the other drivers earlier tonight, but of course the field's going to fan out. It looks like Liam's actually going to miss the groove there, go up into the high line, going to lose first place at least. Looks like he's going to lose second too. A huge wreck behind him. Cars actually involved. Multiple cars are wrecking.
Garrison's in it.
Chad Cody in the very back too.
Yeah, that was not a good start at all. That was not what Liam Garrison was looking for at all on that. Looks like he just got out of the groove, like he said, Austin, a little bit, and tried to regain his composure. And I think by the time he did, there was a car to his inside, and contact was made there.
Yeah, very unfortunate there for Liam, and you saw there that also involved was going to be the 25 or 125 of Lance Ripka. Chad Cody, of course, not able to get quite slowed down. Of course, he saw a gap, went for that gap. He made it through both the cars, but of course, you know, not the kind of grip on dirt where you can slow down and get the car, you know, turned to avoid a wreck like that, especially when it happens right in front of you when you've already committed to one line. So unfortunately, he had to bounce his car off the wall. But we've seen Chad recover from things like this early on. Fortunately, for most of these drivers, that was the very first lap. None of them going to lose a lap or have to get towed, so they're all going to be able to line up behind the queue of cars here, found the iRacing pace truck. JR, you know, it obviously just kind of missed the line there. Is the track a lot slicker than it was in practice, or is maybe his car just not handling to his liking there?
I think it's probably going to be more of a handling deal, what your setup has in it, and like we just said, it's a track reset. The track's got a lot of moisture in it. It may have been a perfect setup earlier, but now the thing's going to handle a little bit different. So I think it's a lot of unknown for these guys. We'll have to see how the first couple of laps play out, but the guys that figure it out the quickest are going to be the ones going to the front.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, something I'll add here too, guys. Garrison was the quickest in hot laps with a 15.199. It's going to be a fight for him if he wants to make his way into the Knoxville Nationals feature. But luckily, though, 22 laps. He's got some time to make it into the top 4.
Yeah, you can see right now Mr. Moore has control of the field as he goes down the front stretch. Huge jump out of turns 4 as he leads the field into turns 1 and 2, followed by Mr. Shreves and Ross right now in 3rd and 4th. The last driver to advance right now, currently Aiden Young in that 69 car. Of course, he is having a pretty nice run for himself. Looks like he's going to be able to advance into the A main feature right now if they finish how they're running.
Absolutely, he's doing a great job right here. Running a good line. Looks like the middle of the track's working out the best for everybody right now. Everybody's kind of single filed out. Kind of speculating that, like Marty said, it's 22 laps here. I think everybody's trying to fill out their car, see what they have, and then they'll go race for that second half.
Yeah, certainly, Kenny. You're one of the drivers that's kind of championed the idea that you don't have any time to waste. As soon as a green flag drops, you need to be as aggressive as possible. With 22 laps now, this is the most we've seen, 7 more than in the last main event, being the C main. Do you think these guys have the option to kind of ride around, see what their cars have?
I think you might be seeing a situation where guys are kind of racing the track and maybe trying to set up a pass. Got a couple guys are looking. Chad Cody made a pass as he's trying to make his way back through the field, back at the back portion of the top 10. But I think some of these guys are racing the track and just trying to figure out where they can find a lane, where they can find an advantage on the person in front of them. As we do see some guys battling side by side. Aiden Young just barely holding on to that final transfer spot. All kinds of pressure behind him by Keith Jackson, who was actually the late entrant into this with some technical difficulties. So it'd be great for Keith if he's able to get into this one and actually advance on.
And back and
one of the
forth
stories
as well.
of motorsport. Go ahead, Marty.
Sorry, back and forth, by the way, for the lead. Shreves and Moore actually just got by. They have been trading slide jobs with each other for the last 2 to 3 laps.
Yeah, of course, a bunch of other great battles all the way up and down through the field. There's 2 3-car battles, the one on your screen right now between, of course, Young, that's going to be Canellis and Ripka, and then, of course, just behind them there's another 3-car battle. So we also have the battle for the lead. So there's a lot of different battles on track right now. Of course, some of these battles don't matter much in terms of who gets to advance, but obviously if something happens like we saw what happened to the first 3 cars in the last main, obviously there's the opportunity to gain a couple positions for free, and all of a sudden you can go from 5th to 1st or even 2nd in the matter of 1 lap or just 1 corner if someone does make a mistake or a slide job. Right now looking at Lance Ripka, you can see he's in the popcorn position as they call it right now. Looks like he just had a black flag cleared. Kind of curious as to what that might be for. Maybe driving with some damage right now on that car. I don't believe he went into the pits as Chad Cody,
Canellis.
I think.
Canellis is around and in the wall, guys. He was in a battle for the 5th position. Now he's on his side. We may get a yellow here.
Yeah, you can see right now that's going to be Chad, and I think that's Canellis getting together right there in turns 3 and 4. No caution, though. Fortunately, the caution able to not come out there. We stay green right now. It's going to be Shreves, Moore, Ross, Young currently going to advance. That's Canellis getting a little bit sideways, bounce this car into the outside wall. Chad Cody currently manually disconnect. We saw him get a little bit of contact with the outside wall again. He already taken his fast repair, so looks like his car had some terminal damage, and he had to pull off. Right now, looking at Randy Shreves in his LGR Motorsports number 56 machine, currently out front by about 0.6 of a second. No pressure right now as we see this 3-car battle right now. Ross, Young, and Ripka. Of course, Ripka currently the odd man out right now in this battle. The first driver to not advance in that 5th position. You can see Aiden Young, he wants some more security in terms of position right now to make sure that if he were to get passed by a driver, he can still make it. So even though he is kind of, I'm not going to say comfortably going to advance, he's still fighting for all he's got.
Absolutely, Austin, and tell you what, the guys up front ran really smart in this race. They tried to fill out their cars, fill out the track, see where they needed to be. Kind of surprised the guys back in the pack. Really looked like they tried to charge hard there, and contact was made. So this race right now is for that transfer spot. We see Aiden currently holding off Lance, but Lance is going to get a little antsy here as the laps run down. He's going to continue to work on him on the inside here, and if a gap opens up between Aiden and Donovan, you may see Lance try to throw it in there.
Yeah, for certain, Avi. He's just looking for that gap between the two cars to make sure that his car can fit between them. Obviously, for right now, it looks like that high line is going to prevail. So Aiden would need to help him out a little bit there by just tapping the brakes. It's something you see what drivers will do, you know, if it's a more friendly battle right now. Aiden, though, he's really championing that high groove. Looks like he's getting a lot better of a run than Ross in front of him. Contact, though, between the first two cars in this battle. That's going to give third place there to Lance Ripka. So obviously, Lance tried to make it happen, but wasn't going to be too antsy there. I'm not sure you can put the blame on either Ross or Aiden right there. Looks like they were just kind of holding both their lines, a little bit of contact down the backstretch there as they went into turns 3 and 4.
Absolutely. Lance did a perfect job there. He was watching what was going on in front of him. At the same time, he was putting pressure on the guys, so they knew that they had to go. Those guys got to racing each other, a little bit of contact, and he went right by. Perfect.
Yeah, for certain, obviously, the move of a lifetime for him, if that is going to be what advances him into the feature event here. As you see white flag out on your screen, as we're still going to watch this battle between Aiden and Ross, as right now they're going to be in turns 1 and 2. Currently, Randy Shreve's going to come by and take the checkered flag here, followed by Brian Moore. Lance Ripka going to be the driver still in third as we wait for who comes in fourth here. Looks like that's going to be Mr. Donovan Ross. One of your picks here from earlier, Marty, is you're definitely picking the fastest drivers time in and time out here. We're going to get you the finishing order here. Then we're going to take a quick break before we interview your top 4 finishers in this race before we go on to the veterans only race. Randy Shreves, like I said, going to finish first, followed by Brian Moore Sr. Lance Ripka is going to round out your podium, followed by Donovan Ross, the last driver to advance to the A main. As you see, Aiden Young going to be the first driver that isn't able to advance, followed by Keith Jackson. JR?
Yep, we got Liam Garrison in 7th. GJ Boydell came home in 8th. Joe Canellis in 9th. Greg Parmalee is in 10th. And Chad Cody came home in 11th.
Yeah, military life can have its challenges, but sometimes veteran life brings more.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
My name is Greg Gadsden, 26-year Army veteran.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories, great and small.
DAV helps veterans like me get all the benefits they've earned, and that can be a life changer.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
Today, I'm an entrepreneur, photographer, and public speaker.
With the right support, there are no limits.
And I never tire of standing tall.
But there's more to be done, and more victories to be won.
My victory is just being the best that I can be.
Greg Gadsden, thank you for your service. May your victories inspire many more. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
We welcome you back live to the Virtual Grip Network along with the Coast2Coast Racing League after our B-main event. Here with us is going to be Mr. Randy Shreves, winner of the B-main event. Randy, talk me through that race there. Fantastic job. You pulled away from the field. It didn't seem like you had any pressure.
No. It was actually a pretty fairly easy race, I guess. Once I got in the lead, just had to hit my marks and not mess up.
For certain, we saw your car look pretty much like it was on rails. You were able to pull away from everyone else in the field. Is your car kind of set up for this exact time of day, or do you have something else you can change minutely on the setup to make sure it's good for the next event?
I've just got a really good setup in this thing. I believe it's going to be one to beat tonight. Just hopefully I can make it through all that traffic, being starting back of the pack.
For certain, well, you've got about 50 laps to do it here in the main event. Is there anyone you want to thank on your car tonight?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely want to thank my team, LGR Motorsports, ABR Setup Shop, Redline Race Designs, One Wish Foundation, Wraps and Stitches, KSB Builders, Finish Line Repairs, CD Cinematography, Coast2Coast League, and everybody involved. The Disabled American Veterans Honor House, and definitely want to give a shout out to all the veterans out there.
Fantastic job here tonight. Good luck in the next one, buddy. Thank you so much for your time. That was Randy, winner of your B main. I believe Kenny has caught up with your second place finisher, Brian Moore.
Yeah, down here with Brian Moore Sr. Brian, you had quite the battle there with Randy Shreves for the lead, but how much were you kind of balancing the, going for that win and just kind of focusing on advancing to the main?
Well, once he got up there and showed me a wheel and then started throwing his slide jobs on me, I thought, man, we could do this until third place catches us. Somebody told me that here not long ago. I forget who it was, but yeah, I wasn't going to try and drag that out for very long. I thought, man, the best thing for me to do is just fall in behind him and take the transfer and make it to the A tonight. Woohoo!
You did a great job making it through this race into the A main, but now you got a race ahead of you that's going to be about more than twice the length of this one. Do you think you have a good setup underneath you to have a good long run?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I need to give a shout out to Scott Edwards, man. At Scotty Setups, he is the man. I haven't felt this good in the car since the last time I was using his setups, and it really he knows what to do with them, and I like his setups. But this next race, it's going to be kind of a conserving fuel, and I'm not real good at that. So we'll see how it goes. Since I'm starting in the back, maybe I can kind of putt around the first 10 laps or so and then try to go in the last half.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a chess match out there, but who do you got to thank for this run so far, and who's on the race car? SRC guys. It's, just Greg and Donovan and Keith and Jack. We get together on here and have fun racing. So I thank them guys. They help me out quite a bit. Well, good luck to you, Brian, and best of luck to you in the A main.
Thank you.
That was Brian Moore, our second place finisher in that, and we'll throw it to Marty for our third place finisher, Lance Ripka.
Yep, absolutely. Lance Ripka, our third place finisher. Lance, you had some fun battling there for third position. Just how much fun was it?
That was a lot of fun, actually. Just trying to be patient behind them, and I was on the outside looking in there. I knew eventually they were going to start racing each other, and I kind of capitalized on their contact.
Yeah. Tonight, 50 laps. This is a long one. How much fuel conservation will the plan B, because it's going to be a huge storyline tonight? And when do you plan on doing it?
I think you gotta somewhat do it from the get-go. I guess I haven't run a 50-lap race here in sprint cars, but we're definitely gonna probably conserve the whole race. And I know at the end, with the tracks looking off, will be there'll be a lot of fuel conservation there, being that you're not in the throttle all the way, but. So we probably run a little bit harder at the beginning and, just let the, track wear in, and I think that'll help us out.
Who do you want to give shout-outs to tonight for your run?
Well, first of all, I want to apologize to Keith. I popped the berm and I right-reared him. I feel real bad about that. I mean, I know he's probably real ticked off at me, but I just wanted to give an apology out to him. It was not intentional. I popped the berm and slid up into him. But outside of that, Ripka Designs, VMR Wraps, Spartan Racing, SB, GCD 3D printing. I think I got that right.
Yep.
And then all you boys up here that are putting on a good show.
All right, sounds good. We'll let you go. Good luck tonight.
Thanks.
All right, that's Lance Ripka. JR has fourth.
I do. Thanks, Marty. Donovan, we got you in here. Congratulations on getting that fourth and final transfer spot. Tell us a little bit about how intense that battle was for fourth spot. We saw you, Lance, and Aiden going at it pretty good there for a while.
Oh, yeah. Nothing better than bringing a knife to a gunfight. Had a turd for a sled there, so just thankful to get out of that and get on to the main event. I know I had some contact with Aiden there, but I thought he was kind of taking us 3 wide in a bad spot, and I'm not going to back out of it normally, or would I do it in that position either. So move on and move upward.
Absolutely, man. My next question is setup based. We know these are open setups. How's your car handling, and are you going to have to make any adjustments going into the next main?
I think I've had a pretty good feature car throughout the week. I think I got hard charger the first night. I think we went 19th to 5th and had some competitive lap times with the top 3. So, yeah, excited to get off of that slider line type track. I like it either slick or hooked up. So I think we'll be all right if I can keep the wings on the dang thing. I have a hard time with that usually too.
Absolutely, man, and it's going to be a longer race than what you guys have done all night. Any kind of strategy going into that, or just ride it out and see where everybody goes?
Well, you can't make it on fuel from everything that I know. I did some 17.8 second laps. I think I did a dozen of those, and I ended up making it 49 laps the other day. So I'm not sure if you just throw them over your shoulder and go for it, or you tiptoe around and take the chance of getting ran over, somebody banging off the outside wall and cleaning you out on the inside. So, I don't know. I drive truck for a living. I'm not a mathematician.
Definitely going to be interesting to see how the fuel works out. Hey, congratulations on your run. Anybody you want to thank for tonight?
Yeah, thank the guys at SRC, Keith, Jack, Brian Moore Sr., Greg, Rudine Racing for sticking around with us, Premier Door Services, which is Keith, and All in Construction. So I think we got Jack in the feature with me. Keith kind of got hosed out there, so we'll see how we can represent and move forward.
Sounds great. Good luck on the next race, man, and thanks for chatting with us.
10-4. We'll see you at the T-shirt trailer for a T-shirt and a beer later.
Sounds great, man. Austin, I'll let you pick it up from here, man.
For sure, yep. Great job there, JR. As we get ready to look at this, the veteran race for tonight, obviously these guys are, specifically this race is for veterans, so we're going to see some guys that have already raced tonight. They've already advanced, like JR just interviewed Lance Ripka, obviously. He's one of the guys that's going to be able to take those final 4 spots into the B main. Right now, these guys are racing for a lot, too, here. Right now, we're going to take the first driver that finishes out of the ones that haven't made it to the last race. And Marty, who have you got your eyes on here? Obviously, some of these guys have already advanced. Between the veterans of the group, who's your pick and who's your sleeper?
Oh, without question, it's got to be Lance Ripka. He was the quickest last night in our veterans-only race and won the dang thing. So he would definitely be someone to watch out for tonight. As we look at the standings coming on in for Veterans Night, here are how they look. Patrick Spangler has 158, Andy Patton with 138, third Jeff Barker with 132, fourth Bob D. Good with 131, fifth Cale Bixler with 128, sixth Joe Halter with 122. But Lance Ripka, it's going to be tough for him. I think he's already in, though, to the Knoxville Nationals, though. Seventh with 75, Benjamin Couch, 8th with 69, and 9th is Bradley Wright with 62. So when it comes to the veterans, I'd say watch out for the leading veterans, I should say. Watch out for Patrick Spangler, up by 20 in points. He should be the key driver tonight.
For certain right now, you can see Jeffrey Barker currently fastest of 15.3, followed by Andy Patton and Bob DeGood. Some of these drivers you've already seen earlier, like Barker, DeGood, Ripka. Obviously, Ripka, of course, already advancing. So currently, even if he does win this, obviously we're going to talk to him. But one of the other veterans of this group is going to be able to punch their ticket to the A main event here. So we're going to be able to see just who gets to take that. The honor of carrying the veteran status into the A main feature event here later. Of course, this whole event currently charity race going on for veterans. Marty, is there any more word on who has won the auction for the other spot in the main race?
Taking a look, I haven't had a official confirmation from Roger Craig yet. I know he's watching, so he could definitely confirm it to me. But per what we have, position number 26 in the final spot here for the Knoxville Nationals is still Jeff Barker with 60.
So very interesting here. We could potentially put the third finishing driver into the A main event. Of course, if either Barker or Ripka wins, then the highest finishing veteran at that point, not already locked into that race, would of course advance. So currently, it's going to be real hard to figure out, who in the world for these drivers on track. Of course, you're just in the race at that point. Every driver is the same, but maybe, if you're in third place or even second, you got Barker, Ripka ahead of you, you don't focus too hard on pass them. Obviously, though, at the end of the day, you're a race car driver. You just want to finish as high as you can. But, JR, is that something you kind of factor into? You dial back the aggression towards Barker or Ripka?
Yeah, I think you got to know your competition and who you're running around. These guys have raced with each other a lot, so they kind of know the characteristics of the other drivers, and you got to take that into account if you want to get to the end of the race for sure.
I want to confirm as
Kenny,
well.
Go ahead.
Want to confirm, by the way, Jeff Barker is locked into the Knoxville Nationals with his donations of $60. To Disabled American Veterans and Honor House. So Barker is in. He starts from 26 tonight.
So fantastic. So obviously Barker currently fastest right now on the timing sheets as we're going to go ahead and advance to the next session. So we'll get your starting order currently queued up for you here in a couple seconds and get these guys all queued up behind the iRacing pace truck. Lining up first is going to be Andy Patton. Second is going to be Patrick Spangler, followed by Bob DeGood. And third. Fourth is going to be Jeff Barker. Kenny?
Fifth is going to be Brad Wright. Sixth, Joe Halter. Seventh, Lance Ripka. It actually looks like practice times to me. I think the order is slightly different. I think Brad Wright actually on pole. Lance Ripka second. Joe Halter third. Bob DeGood fourth. Jeffrey Barker fifth. Andy Patton sixth. And Patrick Spangler seventh. Apologies for any confusion on that. But Marty, looking at this starting lineup, and we already talked about the guys that are locked in. So of the guys who are not locked in, who would you be watching for? I know you mentioned Patrick Spangler earlier, but he'll be starting dead last.
Spangler, I could see him making his way from the back to the front. However, though, last night he only finished in about, I want to say the 4th or 5th position. As per the point standings at the moment, I would say this is a tough one. I think it still goes to Patrick Spangler with the way he is via points. However, though, Brad Wright's been pretty quiet all weekend long, so we'll see what happens. He has been very fast, though. He could be a big contender here for this win. Something we should add as well, guys. This is the first time tonight that we have had fog in our weather.
Yeah, I noticed that the conditions for this particular server were very different from all the others. The track temp is also 102 degrees, a 79-degree air temp. The fog has come in. This is very different from the rest of these heats that we've had. And JR, do you think does fog being in iRacing, does that ever play any kind of factor?
It may play a little bit, but I think ultimately these guys know where the line is. They know what they need to do here and where they need to run on the track. So I don't think visibility is going to be too crazy. Biggest thing is going to be worried about all that dirt that's getting thrown up on you if you're not the lead car.
For certain, I would assume that track temperature obviously going to play a part here, JR.
Yeah, it will. The track's gonna be slick. Probably gonna have more throttle control during this race. So be exciting to watch as we get ready to go here.
iRacing Pace Truck makes a left-hand turn down pit road, gives control over the field over to Brad Wright. So he's going to rock it down the front stretch. A fantastic start for him. Also, Lance Ripka, a huge start for him as well. So currently, Brad Wright obviously being the driver to advance. Of course, Lance right on his heels, hot on them as they head down into turns 3 and 4. They're almost 3 wide for the third position back behind these guys as they exit down turn 4. It's going to be Brad Wright taking the first lap there in the back as they're going to be 2 wide for the lead, almost 3 wide now for fourth position as they go down the back stretch. Brad Wright followed by Lance Ripka still, and then Bob DeGood in third.
You have to remember the top 4 will not be good enough to do it. If you want to advance to the main, you do need to actually win this thing, pending how the other guys who advanced made it. Is Andy Patton making a move down below Lance Ripka. That's for position. Good move, and he's already Lance Ripka now making a move on Andy Patton. These guys flip-flopping positions. Ripka got pretty sideways there in 1 and 2, able to collect it. These guys still side by side. Down into 1 and 2, Ripka dives down, slides up ahead, but now Patton's going to cross underneath him. It's back and forth for the 3rd and 4th spots.
Yeah, of course, obviously Ripka, of course, advances already to the A-main feature. So right now, even though he did advance already, he, of course, is a veteran. We thank him for his service. Part of that is letting him race in this event here tonight. So he's just out there kind of get the checkered flag of the steering wheel in this event. Obviously, he's not going to go out there and pull any low percentage moves and take someone else out of their race and a chance to make it into the feature event here right now as we're looking at Andy Patton from Pennsylvania, that number 87 Air Force machine, currently in 4th position. He's going to have to do a little bit better if he wants to advance, though. Right now, we did mention that it might not take a win in this, but right now it looks like it's still gonna, because Brad Wright, of course, in first. Currently, he would advance. Bob DeGood in second. Lance Ripka, the other driver, advancing. Currently, the driver that won the charity auction for that 26th starting spot, Jeffrey Baker. He's riding around in 5th spot right now. Of course, he's not someone who has to push too hard, so he's just kind of out there riding around, seeing what the track can give him. Contact, though, down the backstretch. I believe that is going to be Bob DeGood, actually.
Yeah, Bob DeGood, just a few corners before that, he made a daring move for the lead, and it kind of checked him up and made him vulnerable to losing that 2nd spot. And sure enough, the guy in 3rd at the time, I think that was Ripka, tried to make a move, and a little bit of contact sends the number 7 car flying. So that's going to re-rack these guys, slightly change the driving order, and but yeah, that all formulated from Bob DeGood trying to make a move for the lead. It didn't quite work. He had to check up and just became vulnerable to the guys behind him.
Yeah, of course, come off the corner, got a little bit sideways, had to come down the track, just about a foot to correct it, but unfortunately he was a lot lower than Lance thought he would be, and I'm sure Lance was a bit higher than Bob thought he was going to be. So those 2 cars, of course, getting together down the backstretch. Doesn't look like Bob incurred too much damage, though, currently out behind the iRacing Pace Truck along with the rest of his fellow veterans out there in the field right now. Brad Wright currently still the driver who would advance, and Jeffrey Barker still lines up 5th. Of course, we're waiting for the position to go ahead and reorder themselves. Of course, pace car laps behind the caution car do not count right now, so we're still going to be on lap 8 out of 20 as we get ready. Lights, of course, still on the iRacing Pace Truck. Currently, we expect him to go out this lap, signifying there's only one more pace lap before we get going again here.
Yep, indeed, lights are out on the Pace Truck, so we will go green this time by Brad Wright. He's done a great job so far controlling this field. He will have a single file restart. We'll be able to control the field again. He's really kind of backing everybody up here, letting the Pace Truck get pretty far away on this one. We'll see how he's able to get away here and see if he can control the second half as he did the first, with Lance Ripka right behind him, who of course has advanced to the main.
Yeah, he's really stacking the drivers behind him up as they currently go at pace car speed about 45, 40 miles an hour. Pace Truck, of course, makes a left-hand turn down pit road. Really early start right now for Brad as he currently leads them out. That's probably the best start we've seen from all the drivers. Field really strung out right now, though, between Wright, Ripka, Patton, currently your top 3. So we're going to see this one driver on the very inside. I'm not sure who that is in that dark blue car, but Bob DeGood's got a lot of spots to make back up if he wants to challenge for this transfer spot.
Watch out for Andy Patton. He was pretty good in practice, and he's in 3rd place now, and he's got 2 drivers battling side by side. Ooh, contact with Ripka. What a save that was by Lance Ripka, but now he's going to have contact with Patton, and Ripka's going to keep it going straight. He might have some damage after that one, but you know, that again, someone going for the lead, not making it or getting it done, and ended up making themselves vulnerable for contact from behind them. And again, it was almost a repeat of the first caution.
Yeah, very interesting to see how that contact ended up playing out for some of these drivers. Currently, though, it's going to be Brad Wright in first, followed by Andy Patton, Jeff Barker in third place. He was one of the guys, like we mentioned, just right around a fifth spot. Already punched his ticket by winning that Dobbies at the charity auction with a $60 donation to the Veterans Fund there. So currently, he's in third place. It looked like patience, obviously, paying dividends for him. Is currently still Brad Wright out front.
Yeah, and that contact, that scuffle that went on really has spread the field out now as we have less than 10 laps to go. And it looks like Ripka is able to continue, as we see him on screen now in the fourth position. But definitely has taken him out of position to win this thing. But again, he's okay. He will advance. But how about the job that Brad Wright's doing right now? Just holding his line. He's run about the same kind of looking laps every single time around the track. And Andy Patton trying to run him down is maybe taking some chunks of time out of the advantage corner by corner. He's running a lower line than Brad Wright is, but Brad's just sticking to his guns and just keeping it going in the same line, and it's working for him.
Yeah, currently a lot of these drivers just kind of rim riding around the top as high as they can be. That's just what the groove is allowing them to do right now. You see Andy Patton kind of straightening out the entrance to the corner, JR, doing a little bit of that slide job move you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. He's working the line, trying to figure out what he needs to do to try to take it to Brad right here. Closing laps, not sure he's going to have anything, but he's trying to figure something out.
Yeah, obviously he gains a bunch of time on the entrance to the corner because he's straight lining, but of course the center of the corner he needs to get the car turned and come back down the front stretch here. Obviously going to lose most of the time he just gained on our leader Brad Wright. Obviously these two drivers currently fighting for the transfer spot. The 25th starting spot right now goes to the winner of this race, of course a veteran, and obviously Barker and Ripka not with the front driver, so whoever does win this race is going to advance. White flag comes out this time by, this is the closest we've seen these two competitors. Wouldn't be too surprised if it did come to fisticuffs here and one car rolled.
Andy Patton, he's going to take a look down in turn 3 and 4 for the final time. He's not going to be able to do a slide job, trying to make the bottom work, not able to do it. Brad Wright is going to hold on. I think he might have led every single lap of that, at least close to it, 20-lap feature. Great job by Brad Wright, nice and smooth. Gets it done, will advance to the A main as the final, or one of the final provisionals, I should say. Andy Patton just behind, but a good run for him nonetheless, and we will see him as well in the A main, as Jeffrey Barker ends up third, Lance Ripka fourth. Austin, you want to take the last couple spots?
Yeah, for sure. Bob DeGood's going to come home in fifth, followed by Joe Halter in sixth, and Patrick Spengler is going to round out your 7-car field. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break before we go ahead and interview the winner of this race. We'll be back right after this.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
While I was lying in an army hospital in Germany, my parents got a letter that said I had 48 hours to live. They even sent this flag to put on my coffin.
As America's veterans face challenges, DAV is there.
I left the military with a traumatic brain injury, and when I got home, I fought depression, anxiety, and alcohol, and had nothing to look forward to.
DAV provides a lifetime of support to veterans of every generation, helping more than 1 million veterans each year.
With DAV's help, my world changed 100%. I was able to build a new life for myself.
With the right support, more veterans can reach victories great and small.
I'm Adam Greathouse, Army veteran.
But there are more victories to be won.
My victory is just experiencing life.
Adam Greathouse, thank you for your service. May your victories inspire many more. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org. As America.
We're back live on the Virtual Grip Network, currently broadcasting the Coast2Coast Racing League Veterans Charity Race. Our winner of the veteran race, obviously going to be Brad Wright. Brad, fantastic job there. We believe you led flag to flag. Talk to us about that race, man.
Boy, I tell you what, I was a little tired hanging on to the wheels for so tight, knowing all the talent that I had behind me. It was that was the longest 20 laps I've ran. I think that's my first win actually in this league or anything like this.
Well, congratulations, man. Obviously, we saw at the end of the race there, Andy putting a lot of pressure on there in the closing laps. What did you have to do to try to hold him off?
I was actually just trying to hold my same line and keep the momentum up and maybe just give a little baby slider because I knew Andy had raced me clean and I knew he was probably a little bit faster than me, and I thought if he gets anywhere on me, I was going to let him race him clean and let him get by.
Yeah, for certain. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run tonight?
I'd definitely like to thank Be the Light Thrift and Gift. My mom, she's been helping me out with all this. Give a shout out to everybody that might be listening in the Air Force. What a first awesome win for me. And also like to thank Chris Imbus for helping me out in these first two nights. I actually missed the E-feature tonight because I was late working up there on the flight line.
Well, fantastic run here tonight. Congratulations on your win. Good luck the rest of the way. Thank you so much for your time and for your service.
And you're very welcome. I'd also like to thank Roger Craig and everybody with this that put this event on. I mean, this is a great thing you guys do.
Thank you so much for your time. I believe Kenny Kibbe has caught up with our second place finisher, Mr. Patton.
I'm here.
Yep, we caught up with Andy Patton. Andy, you started pretty deep in the field in this little veterans race here, but you stormed up there, got up into second. We even pressured for the lead there. What was it like there in the closing laps trying to track down Brad Wright?
Well, I got that big gap on, he got that big gap on me, so I had to do something. So I was throwing that slider line, and boy, did it ever take off. I think maybe another lap or two, I would have been able to get up alongside him. I don't know if I could have passed him or not there, but it's fun, man. Those vet races are always a lot of fun. It's a good group of guys.
So this is using that slider line, is that maybe something you've learned that you can use now that since you are locked into the A main that'll start here in a few minutes? That's something you can use to help you?
Nah, I doubt it. It's going to be a fuel conservation. You're going to run the bottom. You're not going to be throwing sliders, you know what I mean? I mean, unless you have to. But this group is going to be so tightly packed together that that's probably not going to happen. You try throwing a slider in a group of cars like that, you're taking out half the field. So, yeah, not a good idea.
Yeah, definitely sounds like it's going to be a thinker's race coming up. But, for you, you're going to be starting 12th place out of 26 cars right in the middle of the field. How are you going to be able to manage traffic and trying to keep this car clean?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, like they say, luck has a lot to do with racing. So, just hope that you're in the right spot to miss the wrecks when they happen, because I'm pretty sure they're going to happen. Got a good setup. I got one of ABR setups packages, and the car's really good on slick track. So, we'll see how it all goes. But yeah, like you said, I'm starting dead in the middle, so we'll have to see how it is. At least I'm on the outside. I'll be able to get up out everybody's way, hopefully, and run the top for a little bit. I'm going to have to get to the bottom though, because that's where the fuel conservation's at.
Well, you've had a good run so far tonight. Who do you have to thank for your run so far, and who's on the race car for you?
Well, my own company, A&J Custom Creations. We do the trophies and stuff for C2C. I want to throw a big shout out to Ross Carintha and the Velocity Race Design. I mean, he does an awesome job on skins for cars, and he did my Air Force car for tonight, and it really looks good.
Yeah, and speaking of your company there, you guys made the Moonshine Challenge trophy that goes to the Bootleg Racing League, which is very near and dear to the Virtual Grip Network, so we appreciate you guys for doing that for us. We also appreciate your service to our country, and appreciate you for being here and allowing us to cover your guys' show. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, man. You guys did a terrific job tonight. With all the delays and everything, you still put on a great broadcast, and that's definitely appreciated.
Thank you, Andy. That was Andy Patton, and we'll see if Marty can catch up with our third place driver.
Absolutely. Let's bring him on in here. Jeff Barker finishing in P3 tonight. Jeff, walk us through your race there, and it was a fun one and also a foggy one, too.
Yeah, lots of fog, lots of horsepower. No, it was a pretty simple race from where I was. I just kind of finished where I started, stayed out of trouble, and watched a couple of battles there happen and play out, but nothing special.
Absolutely, it was. How much fun has this Veteran Series event been as a whole?
Oh, it's always fun. We do this a couple of times a year for different causes, and we have a great time each time. And thanks to everybody who comes out and supports it. It's awesome.
Who do you want to
give a little bit of good?
Yeah, definitely. Who do you want to give shout-outs to on your run?
Oh, Galen's Gourmet Popcorn, Epsilon Sprint Wraps, Malcolm's Mills Mill Riding, and Kart Racing Team, Can-Am Racing Team.
All right, sounds good. We will let you go, man. Nice job tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Jeff Barker finishing third. Back to you guys.
Yeah, fantastic run there for the veterans race. Obviously, a very small field, but honestly, I think that was the raciest field per car we've had all night. A fantastic race there. Thank those veterans so much for their time and their service. Of course, veterans do so much for us, and they aren't thanked nearly as much as they should have. So we're going to go ahead and get started to cover the main event here. JR, what have you seen earlier from a driver's standpoint? Do you think these guys will be able to carry over to the main event here?
That type of slider line, it's brought up earlier. I think it may come into play very, very late in this race, but this is going to be a fuel mileage race. So I think, like a lot of the drivers we interviewed said, you're going to be trying to run that bottom. You're going to be trying to stay off that throttle for as long as you can just to save fuel to get to the end. But late in the race, you're going to have to be able to go up top, run hard, and try to throw a slider underneath somebody if you're able to keep pace with them.
Yeah, for sure. Marty, as we go into this race, obviously you cover these drivers the most. Who's your pick to win this race? And give us, obviously, a bigger field now. Your sleeper picks, too.
Oh, my goodness. That is the million-dollar question right there. I am not too sure, man. There's a lot of drivers that have a chance at winning. I don't know. It's really tough. I mean, you look at Kyle Moonen on the outside front row. Jesse Atkinson's up there, too. Chase Wolf, who was a quick timer, Austin Stern, who nearly had a perfect night in qualifying night number one. This is a crapshoot, I think. It's going to be very tough to see who could win this one.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, you can see some drivers out here right now. Currently, time split between them pretty far between some drivers and very close in between others. Obviously, the earlier a driver gets out on track, the fresher the track's going to be. Kenny, as we've seen the racing go on through here, obviously we're going to put a lot more cars on the track here. 50 laps this time. Talk about, the need to save fuel. How do you save fuel in these races?
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to basically come down to two things. Throttle management, meaning stay off the throttle as much as you can, but obviously still having to make lap time. And the other factor is going to be trying to run the bottom. Obviously the bottom is going to be the shorter distance around the track. So you pile on running around the top side lap after lap. That's going to add quite a bit more distance to your race, which is obviously going to burn more fuel. So those are the two main factors, and I think it's going to be kind of a chess match. You're going to have to balance your aggression with your fuel, and also, obviously driving the track and managing that as well with how it's going to change with this long 50-lap feature.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, this obviously is the culmination of the events here tonight. We've seen drivers go on from the E-Main. Unfortunately, though, none of those guys able to make it up through here, racing for that entire time. But as you get up through the field here, we keep going and going through the feature race here. What are some things that you guys, if you are one of these guys that's been, of course, locked into the A-Main since before tonight, is there things, you've been watching for in the early events? Maybe what kind of line ends up, being the most useful later, if you can pull off a slider, just how tightly these guys are racing?
Well, I think, this bigger field is going to be, this race is just going to be a totally different animal from everything that we've seen so far tonight. The field is much bigger than what we've seen all night long. You could almost think of the other races as kind of like heats. But you got guys in here that have raced a bunch tonight already, or at least a little bit. You got other guys who haven't raced at all, who've been just kind of waiting. The track temp is back cooled down to less than 70 degrees, which is going to make these cars pretty darn fast. The race length is, over double what it's been all night long. And then now it's also the race where the money's going to be paid out. Top 5 finishers in this race will win some money. So completely different animal from what we've seen all night long. And then you put on top of that the fuel mileage thing. So I expect the racing to be kind of a lot different from what we've seen so far tonight.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, this being the first time these drivers are able to race for cash, and of course, the pay window opens at the end of the night. You got to know where you're at in the field, and if you can gain any more spots, of course, that temptation to just push the car a little bit harder, maybe try to get a little bit more speed out of the car, can lead to some problems. And of course, you might end up taking yourself out. You can also end up taking out some other drivers if you do something too aggressive, like we saw there in the C-Main event, I believe, that ended up taking out the top 3 drivers there at that point. For sure, the top 2 not able to advance. Luckily for the third driver in that whole wreck, he was able to make it and was able to advance all the way up to this current A-Main feature right now as we see these drivers practicing. This is, going to give a lot of the guys the opportunity, even though obviously, this being an open set, they can change anything on their car. It takes a lot of effort to put in to make these sets. JR, I know you're someone that's made a lot of sets, not specifically for dirt cars often, but take us through that process and what you do when you get out here and you realize, well, I practiced all for my race and 70-degree track temp, and now all of a sudden at 60 degrees, what do you do to try to change the handling of the car?
Yeah, absolutely, Austin. You're working to make a setup. You're obviously using a set list of weather conditions for that. When you get to the race and you notice that it's different than what you practiced, your car's not going to handle exactly like you want it to. So the thing is, you want to make sure that you've got a good base to go off of. So if your setup has a good baseline, it's going to be easy to make adjustments. If the track's slick, if the track is tacky, you know what you need to do to make adjustments. On asphalt to take some wedge out, put some wedge in, change springs. It's going to be very small changes, but it's going to make your car handle the way you need it to because you had that good baseline that you started with.
Yeah, for sure. Fantastic insight there, JR, into what it takes to make a set. And, of course, all these guys running their own sets. Some of the guys might have a team event going, of course, to share the setup. Some of these guys might have also hosted an open practice session where the other drivers can come and practice. You sort of get a feel for what the other drivers can do with their setups because, of course, handling isn't always what makes a fast car fast. Sometimes if you get placed in the back of the pack or heaven forbid, you get taken out in a rack and iron at the back of the field, you need a car that can also pass instead of just being on one rail, and unmaneuverable, so that you can venture around and find that grip elsewhere on the track.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, this track's going to change. So we know there's going to be some fuel saving guys running at the bottom. That's going to be hard to do. I don't care if you're saving fuel or not. Running around the bottom is going to be hard to do without hitting that berm and creating an issue. But yeah, you need your setup to work in multiple grooves, and at the end of the day, you're going to have to be able to go hard and be able to make a move on the guy in front of you if you're not leading.
Yeah, for certain. Also, there's the added risk of the berm being down there. If you cut the corner a little bit too tight, you might roll over. You might also slow down a little bit too much, get run over by the car behind you. These open wheel cars, of course, lend up to a lot of rollovers happening. Cars going through the air, getting airborne. So obviously, even more danger added to this. Not just racing in two dimensions. There's the added dimension of sky.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm not jealous at all that I'm not out there with these guys. This is going to be a tough race. Like I said, everybody's going to be running toward the bottom, I think, early, and it is very, very tricky down there. It does not take much to overstep that berm that's at the bottom of the track, and if you're lucky, it's just going to upset the car and bounce you up the track, but more than likely, it's going to cause a stack up behind you and a big mess.
Yeah, certainly. JR, I want to talk about too. Do you think we're going to see the cars go all the way out to the wall at the end of the night here?
I think you will at the very end, but to be honest, it's probably not going to happen until about the last 10 laps. I think that's when guys will start positioning themselves up toward the top or middle of the racetrack, depending on how the track changes. And that's the thing. If everybody runs the bottom, the middle of the track could be a game changer there. That could be the place that you want to be. So definitely early on at the bottom, but I think everybody's going to continue to migrate upwards as they get the fuel saved that they think they need to save, and they know that they have to start running really fast lap times.
JR, obviously for our fans at home that might not know much about how the grip progresses as the race goes on, does that mean that slick part you can see there, folks at home, right around the bottom of the track next to that berm, is that going to progress upward so it's all just slick until you get up to that, right next to the wall where you kind of have to ride the cushion, if you will?
Hopefully it will, because that'll produce better racing, open up some grooves. I definitely think with the car count that we have here, that's what's going to happen. So you're going to continue to see the slick portion wear away. It's going to get blacker down toward the bottom, and it's just going to continue to move up and up and up. Now, you want to run right next to that cushion and not above it, so at the end of the race, you've not been up there the whole race. You're going to have to be very precise on where you place your right rear tire so you don't over jump that cushion, and if you do, you're going to be toast.
JR, do you think a lot of these drivers have set their cars up to be maneuverable in terms of being fast all over the track, or is it a case where they know they're going to ride around and have to save fuel for probably the first 20, 30, maybe even 40 laps, so they're going to set their car to run very well up high so they can just kind of rim ride those last couple laps and see if they can gain all the positions?
Yeah, I think you got to leave it maneuverable. The better your car handles, the more fuel you're going to be able to save, so I think you got to have it to where you move around.
Of course, right now I believe we just got word. Marty, is it time to do our driver intros?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Cool Ray, the Coast2Coast Racing League, Disabled American Veterans, and Honor House, we thank you for spending your Tuesday night with us. It is now time to meet your field for the Knoxville Nationals. Let's give you the starting lineup.
Starting out first is going to be Jesse Atkinson, driving the number 127 car from Virginia for Adra Esports. His sponsors are Four Cloak Media, Pierce Graphics, and Adra Esports.
Starting in the second position, in car number 24, he's a Renegades driver in the Coast2Coast Racing League, driving for Vanderbilt Velocity Race Designs and ABR Setup Shop from Angola, Indiana, Kyle Moonen.
Starting in third place, number 75, it's Austin Stern from Fleetwood, Pennsylvania, LGR Motorsports, sponsored by ABR Setup Shop, One Wish Foundation, and Redline Race Designs.
Lane Snook is going to line up fourth, driving the number 23 car from Mifflintown, Pennsylvania, driving for Vanderbilt Racing. Sponsors are Universal Settlement Services, Keystone Alliance, and Keystone Cutting Products.
From Missouri, driving for Gambler Motorsports, Epsilon Sprint Wraps, Cool Ray, Midwest Turbo, and Performance in the 55, Steven Spees.
Starting in the sixth position, number 14 from Lebanon, Helms Racing Inc. racing team, sponsored by Big Bacon Media, Chase Wolf Motorsports. It is Chase Wolf.
Starting 7th is going to be Jack Clevenger, driving the number 78 car from Cedro Woolley, Washington, driving for Rudin SRC Racing Team.
From Plumas Lake, starting in the 8th position, driving for Icon Sim Sports in the 22, Joe Halter.
Starting in 9th, the number 31 from Corning, Iowa, another Icon Sim Sports driver, also sponsored by Extreme Images by Ashley and Big C's Lawn Care. It's Brandon Templeton.
Rolling off 10th is going to be Stephen Goldner, driving the number 30 car from Elmer, Ontario, Canada for Brandybuilt Racing, sponsored by Brandybuilt Race Cars, Velocity Race Designs, and ABR Setup Shop.
From Fisher, Minnesota, in the Phantom Motorsports Velocity Race Design, Highside Media, Power Outdoors, number 10, Ross Carina, starting 11th.
Starting in 12th, it's the number 87 from Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, sponsored by A&J Custom Creations, Andy Patton.
Kevin Fry is going to line up 13th, driving the number 21 car from Texas for the team The Firm Motorsports. Sponsors are The Firm Motorsports, ABR Setup Shop, Apex Auto Glass Window Tinting.
Starting in 14th from Lacona, Iowa, in the number 83, Brandon Dittmer.
Starting in 15th, number 51 from Grable, Indiana, the Kreitz Sim Racing driver, sponsored by Galen's Gourmet Popcorn, Kreitz Oval Track Parts, and Malcolm's Mills Mill Riding. It's Jonathan Short.
Starting 16th from New York, driving the number 24 car, sponsored by Josh Whiteman Music and Wild Brute Winery, is Josh Whiteman.
Starting 17th from Springfield, Illinois, in the LGR Motorsports Redline Race Shops, ABR Setup Shop, Wraps and Stitches, number 56, Randy Shreves.
Starting in 18th, it's the 558 from Kansas City, Kansas, the SRC Sim Racing Concepts driver, also sponsored by the same team. It's Brian Moore Sr.
Lance Ripka lines up 19th, driving the number 125 car from Laverne, Minnesota for Spartan Racing, sponsored by Ripka Designs and VMR Wraps.
Starting 20th from Washington State in the Rudin SRC, Rudin Racing, All-In Construction, Premium Door, Devo Transportation, number 5, Donovan Ross.
Starting P21, it's the number 20 from Clarence, Iowa, the Wide Open Motorsports driver, sponsored by BB7 Setups, Giddings Mobile Repair, and Stevenson Family Performance. It's Blake Chapman.
Rolling off 22nd is the Professor John Hine from St. Louis, Missouri, driving the number 71 car for Gambler Motorsports, sponsored by The Cruise Shop, Epsilon Sprint Wraps, and Coolray Heating and Cooling.
Rolling off 23rd from Waterloo, Iowa, driving for the Firm Motorsports, ABR Setup Shop, Aplex Auto Glass and Tinting, 2-1 Designs, number 03, Sean Bowers.
Starting 24th, the number 07 from Aylett, Virginia, the Kreitz Sim Racing driver, sponsored by Malcolm's Mills Mill Riding, Galen's Gourmet Popcorn, and Kreitz Oval Track Parts. It's Preston Cranmer.
Lining up 25th is Bob DeGood from Kansas City, Missouri, USA, driving for CART Triple M, sponsored by Malcolm Mills Mill Writing, Galen's Popcorn, and Epsilon Sprint Wraps.
Rolling off in 26, driving from Brewerton, New York, in the Can-Am Racing Team, number 513, it's Jeff Barker.
It looks like we might have a 27th entrant. That is the number 69 car from Dalton, New Hampshire, the Gambler Motorsports driver and Young Gun Creations sponsored driver, Aiden Young.
That's your 27 car field here tonight for the Veterans Race for Charity from the Coast2Coast Racing League as they line up along the front stretch. We'll get ready for your 4-wide salute to the fans.
As we get set to go, the field rolling, single file pace in turns 1 and 2. An incredible night. We're glad to be with you here at the Knoxville Nationals.
Currently, these drivers lining up single file around the top side of the racetrack, and it's very much where we expect to see them later here tonight. Of course, right now that grip going to be in the middle of the racetrack as they get started. Currently, the guys are going to try enough to give a 4-wide salute to the fans. Of course, thanking the veterans here tonight. Veterans Day just passing a couple days ago. Go out, thank a veteran. They don't get nearly enough thanks for what they've done for our country to give us the fantastic freedoms we have to do things like this very broadcast, and of course, giving all these drivers the freedoms, of course, to come out here and put on this fantastic show for us here tonight.
Coming down to pit road as they get set to go double file before we go 4 wide. Gentlemen, real quick, I'm going to ask you guys who you guys got to win it. I'll go with you first, Austin, since you and I are calling.
Honestly, I got to go with the Professor John Hine. You know, fan favorite. I feel like I'm always pulling for John.
I think one guy I'm going to be looking for, Stephen Goldner. I think he was relatively solid, reliable. I think maybe he could come up and make a bid for this.
JR, you got a copy?
No, I got you, man. A couple of these guys we haven't seen race yet, but I got to go with Steven Spees on this. I'm interested to see what he can do, starting up there in the 5th position. He may be somebody to watch out for tonight.
My pick to win, I'm going with Austin Stern in the 75, and I think that near perfect night set it was quickest in time trials, quickest in his heat, won his heat I should say, also quickest in hot laps, and was 2 to 3 laps away from winning qualifying night number 1 and having the perfect 500 points and a pole position. So just waiting for the drivers to roll off.
Obviously, you see the starting order come across your screen right now. We did that for the driver intros, so we won't go too far in depth right now. We'll wait for these cars to come out, go 4 wide, and then I'll hand it off to Marty.
Going to be a fun one here tonight. Glad you could join us here for Monday for this fine Tuesday night as they roll off double file. Let us know, by the way, in the chat, who you got winning it. I see Steve Vagosong rooting for LGR Motorsports, Josh Redden rooting for Jesse. A lot of drivers saying as well, make sure you save fuel early. That's the big key. Remember, 50 laps.
Yeah, it sounds like the key to this is going to be to save fuel at the beginning and then, save for something towards the end and go hard at the end. But we'll see how it plays out for some guys.
Yeah, you really have to know when to finally turn up that wick. Obviously, some of these drivers, you don't really know when, of course, you're going to be able to put the hammer down and go for it. Obviously, the caution laps don't count here, but do you still burn fuel under the caution, JR?
Oh, absolutely. You're going to have to make sure that you're not using a lot of throttle while you're under caution. Let the car roll more than what you might normally do, because it's going to be something that you're going to have to try to save. It won't be a ton, but every little bit's going to help if you have a lot of cautions.
I know a couple times, especially in stock car racing, they tell you to turn the engine off during the cautions. Is that something you can do in these cars?
I've never tried it. I assume that it is, but absolutely in an asphalt car you want to do that. So if you can do it here, do it.
iRacing Pace Truck goes down pit road to give command of the field over to the number 12 car. We're going to see another 2 rows come down underneath these guys to go ahead and give the 4 wide salute here as Roger Craig currently tells the drivers where to go to line up for this to make sure it happens the right way.
Absolutely. The rows are filling in for the inside line to come on in. And we're all figuring this out here. Again, we're not professionals at the 4 wide salute. We're all just sim racers. So everyone here just getting used to it and setting up to go 4x4.
Obviously, Roger telling these drivers where to go. He's going to send the 2 back 6 cars up through the middle here as they go 4 wide. This isn't something they do very often, of course. There's only one of these per year, kind of like an all-star race, if you will. Of course, this is for charity, though, for the veterans, so it's going to be a little hard to get these cars 4 wide. Obviously, it's hard to get it even 3 wide right now, as you can see other cars, but definitely expect we'll probably see a couple 4 wide racing moments here once we get going green.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. You are about to see a sight for sore eyes. The Coast2Coast Racing League are 4 wide for disabled American veterans, and also to thank you for tuning in. In return, get up on your feet, take some screenshots or pics with your camera, and make some noise for our veterans, because this is a Kodak moment. Knoxville Raceway, they are lean, they are mean, they contain 700 horses of man and machine. They're 4 wide before they start to pedal it to the metal. Here come the Coast2Coast Racing League Outlaw Sprints for DAV and Honor House.
Fantastic call there, Marty. Obviously, these guys going around to honor the veterans and the fans for tuning in. Obviously, you know, some of it doesn't happen. These guys don't practice it. You can see, obviously, the car control it's taken to hold these cars 4 wide. Of course, if either driver were to move on either side, it would probably send them hopping up into the air. Obviously, we're going to see the 2 middle rows currently fall back to the back of the field and let the drivers in the front of the field currently go to where they should start. Probably get going another about 2 laps here. As we get the field kind of Noah's Ark style 2x2 all the way down the field for our 27 car field.
So we're just getting the field back down to double file formation. One thing we should let you know, Chase Wolf in the number 14 did not get a push to come on out, had a start issue already before we took the green flag, so they may put him to the back of the field for the start. That's not something you really want. Oh, yeah, never mind. They are moving Wolf up. Sorry.
Yeah, getting word there for a second that Roger was going to throw a caution here just to make sure that the lineup could be set in order. Looks like they're still just going to pace around to make sure they get everything sorted out. Currently asking drivers to be keyed up, of course, so that the iRacing stewards can go ahead and put him where he needs to be. That's the caution being thrown here out on track, just to make sure that the drivers can be placed where they should be.
Yeah, guys, Chase Wolf, sorry about that, but Chase Wolf
go ahead.
He got put down 2 laps down. It looks like they're going to wave him around because he had a start issue in the pit lane. I'm interested to see with this caution being thrown, how it's going to, hopefully these guys are going to be able to get into the proper lineup that they originally started at. Obviously, we had to go green in order to do the 4 wide salute. Wolf has taken his first wave around. Looks like they're going to wave him around a second time, and then we should be able to get you guys going here for this A main for the Coast2Coast Racing League, Racing for Veterans, Disabled Veterans charity race.
So currently we see Chase Wolf running around the outside. Of course, he's burning a lot more fuel than his competitors right now. Kind of reminds me of the 1979 Daytona 500, where they asked some drivers to go out there and see how dry the track was, maybe dry it off a little bit more. Of course, burning a little bit more fuel, putting more laps on their engine. Obviously, iRacing, you don't have to worry about those mechanical failures from parts, become fatigued, but is that something you're maybe worried about from Chase? Obviously, these drivers have been able to do the same amount of laps that he have, but of course at a slower pace, so not applying the throttle as much as they have been, or as much as he is, reducing the amount of RPM through the engine, obviously saving fuel. Is that something you're worried about, JR?
I certainly would be, for sure. You're on throttle wide open. He's trying to get caught up, get back onto the lead lap and into his spot. So he's using a ton more fuel than these guys, and we know that's going to be important in this race. So I would look for him early to be riding a lot more than what the rest of these guys are.
For certain, as we see these laps tick off, we heard from some of the drivers they were only able to do about 49 laps if they went as hard as they could. Now that we've kind of chewed up, potentially 6 or 7 of these
Hang on, we got a crash, I think. We just had a crash. Chase Wolf up on his side. But we are going green this time by Knoxville Raceway. It's about to go down. Race fans, it's time to strap in and hold on tight, because these men are about to turn them loose and drop the sledgehammer. The iRacing pace truck is in pit road. Jesse Atkinson, Kyle Moon in the front row. It is showtime at Knoxville.
Currently we see Jesse Atkinson getting a huge start down the front stretch, going to lead these guys down into turns 1 and 2. Right now these guys are all tiptoeing, trying to save fuel. Currently, obviously, you want to make up as many positions as you can, as we see that number 23 car trying to pass the number 123, excuse me, trying to pass number 24 of Moonin right now around the outside. These guys, though, Noah's Ark style as they go through the field. I think that's 3 wide even down further in the pack.
Battle for the second position is on. Kyle Moonin with it. Lane Snook currently in third. Then Austin Stern, Stephen Goldner deadlocked for 4th position. But right now, Jesse Atkinson has opened up his lead to about a second over Kyle Moonin. Incredible gap he's got, but still, Goldner and Stern continue to remain in that drag race in turns 3 and 4. Low line slick early on here. Goldner's got command of 4th.
Yeah, right now Jesse's just absolutely loving this battle behind him. Of course, he's able to pull away, not apply as much throttle as he needs to. And these guys behind him, I assume they're all putting a lot more throttle down than they want to, burning more fuel, of course, just to make sure they get the clean air to line up second. Obviously, this battle only helping Atkinson pull further and further away right here.
Right now, a 2-second lead early. Goldner lost a lot of time. Same with Ross Carina in the number 10 machine. They almost made contact with Dittmer. Yellow lights are on for the first time in the Nationals, and it's for Brian Moore Sr. up on his side in turn number 2.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and see the cause for caution right here. You can see, looks like a little bit of a slider move, not probably intentional there, but obviously going to throw him into one of the cars on his outside. Of course, send him spinning, rolling, and sideways down the racetrack in turns 1 and 2 there. So very unfortunate there for Mr. Moore. Just so you fans know at home, Chase Wolf, after that incident he had in the pace laps to start the race, has manually disconnected. So early end of the race for him.
It was Josh Whiteman, by the way, that made contact. So just looking here to confirm before we went under the green flag. I don't think, no, is it on the replay? I don't think we have it set for you, but we're not going to worry about that at the moment. But what a start for Jesse Atkinson, though. Upped his lead to 2 seconds before the yellow flag, guys.
Yeah, that was a fantastic run for him. As you can see, the cause for Chase's problems there. It looks like he just got a little bit too close to one of his competitors and was tipped sideways. So obviously going to lose too many laps once the racing got going. So he obviously just pulled his entry here tonight. No points on offer, I believe. So just the checkered flag of steering wheel. These guys are racing for money, though, right, Marty?
Absolutely. $100 are on the line, but you do have choices of where you can donate it to give it to. iRacing credits, Amazon gift card, or donation to veterans. The last charity event we had, everyone donated the money for Brody Sim. And Brody, hello to you if you're watching. We hope you're doing well, man. He was a 305 sprint car involved in a terrible accident, currently in recovery mode. So let's reset the field. Jesse Atkinson, the leader, quickest lap of the day at a 16:22. Kyle Moonin is second, Lane Snook third, Stephen Goldner fourth, Austin Stern is fifth, Brandon Dittmer sixth, Ross Carina seventh, Joe Halter eighth, Kevin Fry ninth, Jack Clevenger 10th. Here they come into the restart zone. Jesse Atkinson's the control car. We're back to green.
Jesse's going to lead the field down the front stretch. Another fantastic start for him as he leads the cars down into turns 1 and 2. I expect him to pull away again. We'll have to be worried, though, if he's burning too much fuel as he leads the cars down the backstretch. Currently out to about a half a second lead as they head down the backstretch. Now a lead of over 8 tenths to Mr. Moon in the 24 car behind him. As you can see, those guys are still battling for third place right now. It's going to be between Snook and Goldner.
Austin Stern just cracked the wall for a moment, but we're back to yellow, and it's for Randy Shreves upside down in turn 1.
Obviously the caution back out. I guarantee a lot of these competitors don't want to see all these cautions. Obviously if you're in the back of the field it helps you because you get to make some passes for free, but most of these cars it's going to force them to save even more fuel as we get going. As you can see, the number 56 car there just gets collected by even more cars. Very hard to, of course, adjust your line on dirt and such a small reaction time there, so very unfortunate for that driver as we currently back under caution here. Like I said, caution laps don't count. These guys are just burning fuel. They kind of, they have it, but they almost don't have it. Obviously, currently becoming more and more of a fuel strategy race here.
That was the 22 of Joe Halter that got into him. But yes, you did bring up the fuel conservation. We're going to guess as of right now, Jesse Atkinson has not saved any fuel just yet.
I can't assume so with just how much he's pulled away from the other cars. I will say, though, once he had gapped the other cars by a sizable amount, he kind of stayed there during that first run. Obviously, the second run was too short, so not very indicative of the kind of pace these guys are trying to put down right now. But yeah, for certain, I would assume some of the guys up at the front of the field, obviously racing hard with each other, probably not saving a whole lot of fuel. I assume they probably saw the 5 or 6 laps we saw to do that 4-wide salute as maybe a reason to, kind of go for it there in the first half of the race. JR, I mean, are you kind of picking up that idea too?
Yeah, and I like Jesse Atkinson's position here. So he's out front, and in my opinion, what he's doing, he's trying to get a huge lead, and he'll start saving fuel at the end of the race because he's got wide open track. He can go as hard as he wants to go, run whatever line he wants to run, pull this gap, and then at the end he can save fuel while everybody's trying to sort it out and race each other hard. So I think he's got the right strategy here.
Kenny, I think you picked on one driver's moves right now, Steven Spies.
Yeah, so Steven Spies, I watched him at the beginning on the initial start as we're going to go green here, but he just dropped to the bottom and just was riding his line and let everybody by him. So I think he was saving fuel early and plans to be the opposite and go to the front towards the end of this thing when everybody else has to save. So keep an eye on the 55.
Thanks there, Kenny. Right now, yep, Jesse Atkinson currently first. Go ahead, Marty.
Austin Stern just got the top lane shut not just once, but twice to Stephen Goldner in the battle for 4th position. Stern diamonds the corner, tries the inside, should make his move up to P4. Yes, he does. Now he almost shoved Lane Snook out of the way and clears Goldner for P4. Here comes Corinna.
You see these drivers currently jockeying for position there. Second spot, highly contested though. Right now they're too wide for 3rd and 4th. A little bit of contact there between the two drivers, number 75 and looks like the number 10 car behind him. It's going to be Austin Stern and Ross Coritna. So currently these guys, I don't think they're saving nearly the amount of fuel they should be. Certainly not like some of the drivers in the back of the pack right now though. But I will mention that Jesse Atkinson gets a big lead and then kind of stays at about a second of a gap just to kind of go ahead. And now that he's burned all that extra fuel, he can kind of come out here in the clean air. He gets to choose his own line. He isn't worried about being passed by the other drivers. Jarrett, looks like that line, though, getting higher and higher as the race goes on.
Absolutely. I think it's going to continue to move up as these guys gain more and more speed. As they burn off that fuel, the car itself is going to naturally be lighter and go faster, so that outside line is going to be the place to go.
Kenny, we see a lot of these guys slip sliding around here as they apply throttle. Is that something you're worried about? Obviously, every time you do that, you're doing that to rotate the car. At some point, do you just kind of live with a tighter race car?
Trouble in 3. Trouble in 3. Ross Corinna in the wall bicycling and keeps it going, though.
Wow, good call, Marty, there. We've had a few instances of some contact going on, but we've kept it green. There is Ross Corinna. He's still moving, still keeping her straight. But back to your point, Austin, I think these guys are slipping around and they're going to have to start letting off the throttle, which will help them in turn save a little bit of fuel. But, you obviously have to, as we look back at the replay with Ross up in the wall, he was able to keep her going there. But, these guys are going to have to manage that, but also manage the throttle as well. And this line is moving up the track, but, the bottom is where the fuel saving is going to happen. So it's going to be a toss-up. Do you run the slower line on the bottom, or do you run the higher line but use more fuel?
Yeah, obviously we see most of these drivers currently still riding around the high line right now, the first 5 or 6 positions. Jesse Atkinson, though, kind of slowed down to the cars behind him as he's cut some lap traffic. Still rim riding around the top. You can see they're catching a lot of the slower guys that are choosing to go slower. One of those guys, Steven Spies, currently getting a lap right now. He isn't too worried about the amount of fuel he's having to save right now or losing that lap. I assume he thinks he'll get it back. Of course, the rest of the race is going to be able to go green. So I don't think he's too worried right now. You see just ahead of him, John Hine, another one of the guys on a super hardcore fuel saving strategy.
Yeah, a couple of things here. Steven Spies, number 1, saved fuel early, dropped from 5th all the way back to 19th. Number 2, yes, we did see Atkinson drop back. I think he's trying to save fuel early on and be patient and making his way by lap traffic. We just saw Lane Snook get by on the outside of Kyle Moonen, where there was barely any room to take the runner-up spot. These two have had some good battles in recent Coast-to-Coast Racing League races.
Yeah, you can see Snook in the car behind of Mooden, currently getting a little bit touchy, argy-bargy, in fact, nose to tail, currently even more contact between the two of them. Of course, Jesse Atkinson still on point right now as they make their way through the lap traffic. For the most part, though, these guys really not afraid to go lap down. As you can see, number 75 car Stern trying to pull a little bit of a slide job, currently thinks better of it, checks back into that bottom lane as we can see a battle for the first position, though, between Atkinson and Kyle Moonen.
Moonen trying the inside as they work on the professor of John Hine, who's decided to save fuel early on. Just past the halfway books, down to a car length of a lead for Atkinson on Kyle Moonen. Everyone's still using the high side for right now. Nearly bicycling over the cushion and gained the wall as you see a wheelie for a split moment by Atkinson.
Yeah, right now I can tell you for a fact that John is one of the guys, of course, Kenny, JR, and I have raced around him a lot in our own BRL read. You can see the BRL and the Virtual Grip Network as well. John's one of the guys that knows, a slower car getting lapped, it's up to the leaders to go ahead, the faster car to make that pass clean without giving the slower car any problems. Right now, John cheesing that high line. I think at this point, though, it's lap 30. John's decided he saved enough fuel.
Lane Snook and the front straightaway nearly hooked the wheel of Bob D. Good, almost cost him third position to Austin Stern.
Yeah, we see a battle for the lead there. Currently a slide job between Moonen and Atkinson. Right now, Moonen in the lead. Atkinson trying to pull a slide job, thinks better of it. Can't get the car to rotate too well, go to the high line, because there just isn't a gap between Moonen and the car about to be lapped of John Hine. Right now, this is a battle now for second position. As you can see, Atkinson falling a little bit through the field now. Looks like Snook is going to try to pull a slide job, almost does it. Atkinson able to steer the car back underneath him, pull the old crossover maneuver. You see a car on the wall there, more contact down the backstretch. I don't know who that was. Caution still isn't flown, though.
Yeah, just watching that replay of Kyle Moonen taking the lead on Jesse Atkinson, I don't know how Moonen kept holding on that high groove and not even clipping the wall. Battle for second, meanwhile, on. Lane Snook takes a peek down to the inside on Atkinson. He can't throw the slider or else he would have gotten into Kyle Moonen, and maybe even Atkinson too would have taken all three of them out. Thinks better of it. Kyle Moonen remains in the top spot. Mega lap traffic ahead though as they work on Aiden Young in the 69. Oh, trouble! Darvin Ross is loose. Down the back chute, tries to come up on the track into Moonen's path. Here comes Atkinson down to the inside.
Three wide there as they come down the front stretch. That was Atkinson on the inside of Moonen, just above the number 5 car, Donovan Ross. You can see they've cut lap traffic here pretty bad. Two number 24 cars, obviously one of those being the 124 car of Mr. Whiteman. Obviously, he's trying to get to the inside of Moonen there. You can see Whiteman going to get out of the way. They've currently made their way past John Hine as well. John obviously saving a little bit more fuel. Doesn't want to be involved in this battle here. Going to think better of it. Currently let these guys by.
3 wide into turn 3, meanwhile, for Lane Snook and Jesse Atkinson. Atkinson falling back to third. I think he's playing safe and saving some fuel beforehand. There was nearly contact behind him.
You can see John Hine right now on the very tail end of Jesse Atkinson. I think he's just trying to follow them along to make sure he doesn't lose any more time to them. John obviously believes he's saved enough fuel right now to kind of ride around with them. Obviously, all the time he gained, his time will get back because he saved this fuel. Of course, if another caution comes out, I can't imagine John being the professor smart race car driver he is. Obviously, probably prepared for a couple more cautions just to kind of burn more fuel and not tick through the lap. So something you got to keep in mind too. These guys might be able to make it to lap 50 right now if we stay green, but if we get any more cautions, they might run out of fuel in the last couple laps.
12 laps to go here at the sprint car capital of the world. Moonen leads, Snook second, Atkinson third. Good battle meanwhile for fourth position between Corinna and Austin Stern. That's your best battle on the track. But for a second spot, here comes Atkinson on Lane Snook. Fly job for the 127. He gets to the wall. He's in the bumps and falls back to third. I don't know how he saved that.
John Hine had to check up there really hard to make sure Atkinson could gather it back up before they went down the back straightaway. I'm sure John wasn't too pleased with that, obviously. Going to get the opportunity to save even more fuel. 10 laps to go here. Really coming down to the last laps here to see which drivers can make it on fuel. You can see that a lot of drivers a lap down here. That's just how fast these first couple cars have been putting lap time down compared to the rest of the field. Obviously saving a lot more fuel than the rest of the drivers.
Absolutely. Kyle Moonen, a 1.1 second lead from Lane Snook, 9 laps away from taking the Knoxville Nationals. Only thing he doesn't want to see is a yellow flag. Back to the battle for fourth position. Ross Corinna inside on Austin Stern. Can't pull the slide job up. Car in his way. That's the 24 machine of Josh Whiteman.
Currently, Mr. Moonen has a 1.1 second lead over Snook, followed by another 1.4 seconds back to Atkinson. So feel a little bit more spread out than it was earlier here tonight. As you can see, Kyle Moonen just working his way through the lap traffic. Obviously, he's not too big a rush. Has a pretty decently sized gap to the rest of his competitors behind him. This is where, you know, you start to get into the gas mileage race here.
Absolutely. It's Brandon Dimmer loose off turn 4, no situation there. Lap traffic letting Kyle Moonen go by with 6 laps to go. The gap, 0.6 of a second lead on Lane Snook. Likely that number 23 machine is going to need a late race caution.
Yeah, obviously, even though he might need a late race caution, I don't think he wants one to come out because obviously he's burned more fuel than he would have if there were any caution. So I think he'd rather just finish and probably for Kyle Moonen to run out of fuel, obviously, or have contact with another car and not bring out a caution. As we can see, currently 5 laps to go here. You can see a lot of these guys. Oh, caution on the racetrack.
Yellow flag is out, and it's for the 51 of John Short. Up on his lid. This ain't over yet.
Yeah, you can see the number 07 car of Preston Kramer got a little bit loose going through the corner, ended up getting just a bit wide coming up into the number 31 car, Brandon Templeton, as they come out onto the front stretch. Going to bring out the caution here, and yeah, I'm sure some of the drivers are very lucky to see this happen. Obviously, it's going to bunch them up. Cautions breed cautions, Kenny.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, this is going to be a high-flying finish, that's for sure, and that might be taken literally in these sprint cars if we have some more contact. But you know, Moonen was really controlling the race. Snook really, he took the gap down, but then I noticed he got up into the wall a couple times. Was really kind of struggling in some lap traffic, but we'll see if Moonen can hold on here. It's going to bunch everybody up. You won't have to deal with lap traffic the rest of this race. Only 11 cars left on the lead lap, but you know, Marty, we've seen these guys battle it out. We've seen Atkinson up towards the front, but he's dropped to 3rd. Do you think he could possibly get back into this thing?
I think Atkinson could be in the thick of things here. He was saving fuel earlier, but he loves the short runs in these final laps. Wow, how will he deal with it? Lane Snook, Kyle Moonen also in this. We are about to have a hell of a finish.
Yeah, for sure. As we see the lights atop the iRacing pace truck, I believe they're out, so they'll go green this next lap here and obviously finish off the rest of the race. So see if we can get a strong finish for you folks here at home. Obviously, lights are out atop the iRacing pace truck, so they'll go green this next time by. iRacing pace truck, of course, going to make the tight left-hand turn down pit road, give control over the field over to Kyle Moonen here to finish off this race in his number 24 car.
Moonen, Snook, Atkinson, Stern, Corinna. Who do you like? iRacing pace truck is in the pit road. How bad do you want the Knoxville Nationals? We're back to green, and Moonen gets a great jump on Lane Snook as they ride the top shelf of the middle group in turns 1 and 2.
Kyle Moonen using that leader starts to his advantage, of course, went all the way to the top side of the track in order to straighten out his straightaway before they came back to the green. You can see Kyle all the way up high, Snook down to the inside as they go through turns 3 and 4. Snook's going to have to be real careful. If Stern keeps riding the outside, he might make a pass here for 2nd place.
Big moves from Austin Stern. Remember the restarts here. Single file, maintain up to 3rd. Got by the lap traffic of John Hine and company. 2 laps to go for Kyle Moonen and the Knoxville Nationals.
2 laps to go here. Next time by, they'll get the white flag. Currently a half a second back from Moonen to Snook. Another half a second back. Now a 1/4 of a second. You can see Snook really getting a huge run down the back straightaway here. Really closing up the gap, kind of using that Kyle Larson highline as they come through turns 3 and 4. White flag in the air from Barney the Flagman. Right now, Kyle Moonen leads them down into turns 1 and 2. Mr. Snook right on his rear end trying to get everything he can as they head down the backstretch. Will Kyle Moonen run out of fuel? Just Snook have anything for him as they come through turns 3 and 4. Snook trying his absolute slide job down there, but Kyle Moonen going to take home the checkered flag.
Kyle Moonen wins the Knoxville Nationals. Lane Snook 2nd. Ross Corinna finishes 3rd. The fireworks go up for the number 24 of Kyle Moonen.
Man, what a finish there. Obviously, a ton of build-up here tonight, so Kyle Moonen going to be able to come home in first, followed by Snook, Corinna, Goldner, and Fry round out your top 5. What a race there, Kenny.
Yeah, that was a a great race, great battle for the guys out front. Another thing of note, Sean Bowers wins the Tin Can Wraps for Charity Hard Charger Award. I was watching him throughout that event, 23rd to 7th, stayed on the lead lap, a great run for the 03 machine.
Nice run for him as your top three pose for a photo. Kyle Moonen about to do the virtual roof dance tonight here at Knoxville. What a run for Kyle Moonen tonight. Continues his dominance in the Coast2Coast Racing League. Moon and Snook are some of the best drivers you've seen this season, along with Stephen Goldner. The heartbreak of the night has to go to Jesse Atkinson. Even I think Austin Stern, who was in third position, ran out of fuel, fell all the way back to 8th, and also Jesse Atkinson, who was in third at the yellow, got caught up by lap traffic, fell all the way back to 9th position. Let's see here. Let's start off with, let's do our interviews here. Austin, let's bring in your race winner, Kyle Moonen.
Hey, Kyle, fantastic job here tonight. Way to bring home the checkered flag there. First off, talk me through the race. How'd you save enough fuel? Did you know you were going to make it?
Yeah, we, which I got to thank Goldner for that, made a nice little chart for us telling us, how much we needed with how many laps to go. And then we had Fitz and Brandon in there calling out, fuel helping us out a little bit, so we knew how much we needed.
Obviously, was that last caution something you wanted to see? I assume when every caution came out, you don't stop burning fuel. So was that something you were worried about if we had a bunch of cautions?
Actually, you're not. You don't burn any fuel in these under cautions. If you do, it's because you're getting on it and kind of messing around, I think. But no, I wasn't too worried about it. I knew at that last caution I had, enough left. I was more worried about Lane and the guys behind me, if they had enough. If they were saving up until then, that was kind of the trick of it. So it was hard to tell who was saving and who wasn't.
For sure. Is there anyone you want to thank tonight for your great run?
Just all the guys at Bandy Built. Like I said, definitely Fitz and Goldner and Brandon and Lane and Jesse for the help tonight. All those guys helped a ton. Ross Corinna at Velocity Race Design, Alex at ABR Setup Shop, and you guys for the broadcast, and everyone for the league. This was a pretty cool deal they put on, so can't thank them enough for that. Takes a ton of work, and appreciate it.
For sure. Kyle, we thank you so much for your time tonight. Once again, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
I believe Kenny is caught up with our second place finisher, Snook.
Lane Snook down here with me. Lane, you had a great run. You started in the top 5 and you finished in P2. You at times looked like you were catching up to the 24 car. What did you maybe need more of to get that one last spot?
I needed more fuel. I think I could have had him if I would have saved one more lap earlier in the race. But it's all good. We'll take second. We got more money than what we started with, so.
So talk about the last restart there at the end. Was that something you thought was a really good opportunity for you to maybe make something happen? We saw you make that last dive down and into the turn 3 and 4 at the end. Was the restart something you were looking forward to?
Yes and no. I was catching them before the restart, and yes, I am glad it came out, or else I would have ran out of fuel. But yeah, it's all good. I was kind of hoping I would have ran the top that coming to the white flag, or 2 to go in 3 and 4, and I might have had something for him, but I think I might have been a little bit faster than him, but I just didn't save enough.
How close were you on fuel there at the end?
I had 0.4 left.
Nice. All right, well, it was a really good run for you nonetheless in second place. Who do you got to thank for your podium run tonight?
Yeah, I got to thank Velocity Designs, Bandy Built Racing, Jesse, Brandon, Moonen, Goldner, Lacey, JP, Fitzy, Dirt Doctor Trucking, Bio.com, Powerhouse Motorsports, Wagner Brothers, you guys for the broadcast, C2C Racing League, Universal Settlement Service, Jack and Harvard Switches, Keystone Alliance, KKP, Keystone Coating Products, Fox Speed Design, Mexico Richmond from Snook Dirt Designs, The Wood Hatchery, Fitzy's Perfect Photography, slack karts, and performance manufacturing.
That was quite the list. Well, we appreciate you spend some time to talk to us, Lane. Good run tonight. That was our second place driver, Lane Snook. Will send it down to Marty for the third place driver, Ross Corinta.
All right, Ross Corinna in here with a P3 finish. Ross, I gotta ask, did you want that yellow there at the end?
Yeah, I would have liked it actually probably about 4 laps earlier, honestly.
How about your run tonight? You were having a good battle there with Austin Stern in those final few laps before the late race caution.
Yeah, it was a good race. I think it was him I got into pretty early, and I hit the wall, tried to get off of it. I think I lost like 6 spots, but was able to recover and work my way back up.
Who do you want to give shout-outs to tonight?
Well, I'd like to thank the guys over at Phantom Motorsports for helping this thing go, or helping me make this thing go fast. Sponsors Velocity Race Design, Weichel Sportswear, Power Outdoors, and Highside Media. And then obviously you guys for putting on the show, and Roger, and all the guys over at Coast to Coast for putting it on.
All right, man. Nice job tonight.
Thank you.
Ross Corinna finishes third, and by the way, I just got confirmation here through Austin Stern. He ran out of fuel coming off of turn number 4. That's what led to that 8th place finish. Guys?
Yeah, fantastic race here tonight. The next Coast to Coast Racing Network broadcast is the Hometown Hero Series tomorrow, November 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The next VGN broadcast is the Pro Late Model Dirt Series Fall Nationals, also tomorrow at 8:20 p.m. You can find that right on the Virtual Grip Network. I'm Austin Belke from my co-host in the booth, Kenny Kibbe, J.R. Shepard, and Marty Sazakala, and our director, Mike Yao. We thank you so much for watching. This has been a production of the Coast to Coast Racing Network and the Virtual Grip Network. Have a good night, folks.
Bye.